Happy Holy Day, Moors, and welcome to House of Reawakening Minds. House of Reawakening Minds exists to provide for exploration and spirituality, the practice of it in an enlightened community dedicated to honoring the myriad of sacred pathways to the universal creator. We are a holistic center for spiritual grounding, free thought, self-discovery, and Moorish science, an awakening experience for all ages. Tonight, we are pleased to present once again our National Grand Sheikh, Taj Tarik Bey.
I know we've all been having a lot of more communication experiences lately, and in this last month, I've been talking to quite a few people from other countries who've been contacting other people to get in touch with me and talking, and they've been sharing. And one special empress from Eritrea, calls me or texts me mostly every day, and shares a lot of information and culture. And one of the things that she was mentioning was that she was glad to see that some of the people here are really connected with the real culture of the planet, because most of the people here have been pretty much shut down. And she was pleasingly surprised that some of us do know the culture and speak openly. Because most people, and I want to say this to you too, it's not that a lot of people don't know, a lot of people don't talk because it doesn't fill their pockets. And also, they lose control of the people. Because so many people, as Dr. Naila was talking about, really, what I was going to mention, did anyone see the Riding with Dr. G? How many of y'all watched Riding with Dr. G?
I've watched it before.
You need to.
Yeah.
That's my girl for him. Before I came over, I was over the house and I was looking at the Facebook, her video, Riding with Dr. G, and everything that was going through my mind is this is what should be in them temples, churches, mosques, and synagogues. And for those who know her, she has a very strong pastor background. And she knows a lot of people around the world and a lot of people across this country. And one of the interesting things when you listen to her talk, because she's very honest, and when you, from my view, looking at her, and I'm not being biased, it's just what it is. That's my sister, but I'm being honest. Because you find there's very few pastors that are willing to walk away from all that finance that people throw at them and really humble themselves and just stand for the truth and give up all that material goods that people will give them who want to be kept in this box. You know what I mean? And it's not unlike some of the things that my conversation with a couple of people that I've been talking to the last couple of months. And so some of them are probably looking in today, from on the other side and from the upper part of the continent. One of the reasons for this subject matter tonight is because what you discover is that many of our people have difficulties talking to their family members who are in club systems, whether the mosque, church, synagogues, or temples, to be honest, and to really work towards liberating humanity as opposed to controlling them for financial gain in the name of Allah, or in the name of Jesus, or in the name of Muhammad, or in the name of Buddha, and then tell the people the truth that all of them were connected, and all of them were social reformers. They did not promote dogmatic religions. They didn't. Are we clear? And it's difficult for people who really don't do scholarship to recognize that because they've been told all their lives, you know, that Prophet Muhammad wrote the Quran, which he did not. That Jesus and God wrote the Bible, which they did not. You know what I mean? And that the different prophets wrote the books. The fact of the matter is none of the people that they call, that are known as the prophets, wrote any of those books. It doesn't make the books wrong, are we clear?
Clear.
But I think what enslaves a lot, and slavery connotative, what ensnares humanity and closes humanity up in relationship to the books and give them the wrong concepts is because the priesthood, because of their selfishness, you know, because people's willingness to give them their finances, you know, what they call stealing the widow's penny type thing. That they themselves know the truth, but they refuse to tell the truth because then they can't wear those $3,000 suits and get that extra house over here and go to the Bahamas with Jesus' half every year with Bertha Butt, who sings with the choir, and everybody tries to play like they're holier than thou, and they're doing every foul thing that anybody on the corner is doing, trying to act like they're holier, you know, type stuff. And the interesting thing, when you watch adults actually feed these people and then teach their children this, and then their children grow up into these houses and think that the Creator in heaven built these houses. And it doesn't mean that you should disrespect the order us coming together. Don't confuse. It's a not knocking of the people. Is that they learn to lie in the name of claiming truth. And they become so hypocritical that they don't recognize that they become ugly. And they don't recognize that nature doesn't recognize our self-righteousness that we develop in the name of religion. Not in religion, in the name of religion. And while people who you may know as addicts, let's say this, addict means expert, or what you would call PhD in any degree. As an example, in all of your priesthoods all around the world, on the planet Earth, and on a couple of other planets, the word may be different, but you have what you call chambers of addicts. These will be your high priesthood or those who bear the knowledge, also known as Gnostics. Are we clear? Usually from among the Gnostics come what people kind of call leader guys and girls, but it's not exactly that. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Frankly and honestly, the major problem that's wrong with this planet, which is a school, and it's also a prison, both at the same time, is that the priesthood is thoroughly corrupt. That is the real problem with this planet. We have the good grace of divine order that the Aquarian lights or energy is here and will not allow that to live anymore. So by divine nature, this stuff has to be washed away anyway. However, because humanity has been steeped in the dogma for so many generations, they themselves are stagnating their own spiritual and dimensional growth. It's because they're holding on to false concepts that were put on them by the priesthood who knew the truth and lied. And the major way they lie is simply more by deception than what you will call dark lie. And when I say deception by dark lie, and I want you all to write this down because we talked about this before, but this is also for a lot of people who are listening. Anthropomorphic. All right? Anthropomorphic. Baby girl, you got pen? We got some papers in there. Give her paper and pen, please. Because, and especially, and so you all sisters always share with each other. And it's not a bias But the real deal is that it's important because in short order, the energy, because the younger they are, like you are yourself, the less contaminated you are, the better chance that we have coming out of this. Are we clear?
Can you spell
Anthony
spell it?
Anthropomorphic.
Excuse me. Anthropomorphic. Here it is. Anthropomorphic. Now, we've talked about this before, and it's very important because this is the key. This is the key, one of the keys, one of the major keys, not wrong, but misplaced on the priesthood's power over humanity. Are we clear?
Clear.
And this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this. This is not a new lesson to you. It's just because of the season and because the angle of the gates. And because the energy that people put in this time or this cycle, this area of the cycle. It's sort of like, I wouldn't call it a last-ditch effort of the dark priesthood, but in the area of their last-ditch effort to destroy humanity. Because they see they're being moved out. And so they're doing more mean things to humanity because they're angry because you're waking up. And not necessarily because you want to either, because it's also nature waking you up. But you need to be aware of what's happening. You need to start, not that some of you are not. It's only to share to make you aware of some of the conflict that you're seeing in yourself and in people around you. That you observe it, don't absorb it. Do you understand what I'm saying? You don't reject it, and you don't so much judge it as you are to learn from it. Are we clear?
Clear.
Because that's how nature rewires you. The less anger you have or meanness, in your energy, when you see the evil in people, when you know they know what they're doing is not right, or they're really suppressing you or trying to block you from getting certain information because it threatens their economic and positions, their titles that they boast, the badges they got, the sashes and, potentate bullshit. Well, hey, that's what it is. They're angry at people like me, and they're angry at people like you because you were their food. So they don't like you coming around anybody that's going to liberate you, because once you begin to know certain things, you can see through them, and they don't want that. The other deal is once you understand some of the codes and the angles, you can see that they'll tell the truth while lying, and you'll know and recognize it. And also, you'll learn the Kabbalistic art. Like when they talk about Yeshua says, turn the other cheek? All right? Now, the priesthood used that as a tool against humanity to tell you to accept them robbing you and punching you in the face and don't punch them back type thing. Well, that's not what that really means. The turn the other cheek, where the thalamus comes from the dark side, from the brain, the brain, and it terminates over the nose right here at the forehead. All right, like say if you'll look at some of the ancient Chaldean, Moabite, Canaanite cultures in Babylonia, because that's all of us. So keep that in mind. Don't look at it so much as separate as being on different parts of the planet. Are we clear?
Clear.
As an example, for those who really know, when you're looking at most of the people in this particular area, Renapi, etc., that's been in this area for, say, a few centuries, they're Mandinka. You know, they're really Mandinka and don't know it because of the history being blocked. So they don't see themselves in South America, and they don't see themselves on the east coast of South Asia that we now call Africa. And you could take them and switch them, and outside of your accent, you wouldn't know until they spoke. You change their clothes, put your clothes back, change their clothes. The same thing with some of you, take some of you and put you in Eritrea or Abyssinia, and like take you, right, your bone structure, and take you, say to Eritrea, Abyssinia, and they'll think she's Ethiopian. Although that means that's really not the name, that's a dividing place, right? But yet here, people would say, well, they'll give you one of the nom-de-guerre tags, light skin, orange skin, black girl type of crap. Do you understand what I'm saying? When she's Babylonian. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And this is how the priesthood has messed the world up. You know, like when the Septuaginta, or the Bible will say the Tower of Babel, and then the languages were changed and the people were scattered. Basically, that's what happened to you. But the scattering has more to do with linguistics than actually distance, so that you could not trace yourself. And this is again why we're doing this class, and particularly, and the reason why I told you to get a pen and pencil, Joseph, because you know what Asante cross is? Asante cross. You know what? You'll see sisters wear earrings like an ankh. That's Asante cross. You know, that's the really holy cross. What you see right there? It's Asante cross. Right? Now, basically, when you're a ruler, you would carry that always in the right hand. Right? And so people who don't know it's Asante cross, they'll say it's an ankh. You understand? Now, what that is a key to rulership on not just this planet, but actually a couple other planets, which we will not get into. Do you understand? Because it's more important for you to know where you are here. It's sort of like, if you don't know what's beneath your feet, let's not talk about the dark side of the moon. Not that that's not interesting. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? So that's why I'm saying it that way. However, the more you know about you, the more we can get out of this darkness. The more we can start cleaning this planet up. Because that's really what you're being charged with right now. Cleaning this planet up. And you're going to have to rebuild on multiple levels. But the greater level is in yourself. Are we clear?
Clear.
And you should know that when you cycle by the moon and Venus on 13, that the capacity, you know, like when they'll tell you, they'll do movies and they'll talk about portals, and but they won't tell you that you're a portal. See, so you're always looking out when you really should look in. Two of the reasons why the dark priesthood changed the calendars is to get you out of harmony with nature. Because that will create sickness. And they feed on it, and they call it louche. It's an energy that you actually put out, like a battery. This is why I've been telling you for years that you need to know what these things are here. They are transceivers. These bodies are transceivers. And you need to know that about yourself, and you need to know that all priesthood know that, and they've been using humanity for their own selfish purposes, which is the reason why they will never tell the people that they're being taught from an anthropomorphic angle so that the priesthood can hide behind pretending to be spiritual and pretending to be so in love with the Lord and heaven of God of Jesusness, when they're really pit pullers. That's why they'll make a stand and they'll call it a pulpit. They're really pit pullers. They pull you in the pit of darkness under the guise of being an angel of the light. And because people have believed them, they were so busy believing that these people really love Jesus, God, Allah, and all this sort of stuff, that they get blinded to recognize that they didn't recognize that the world was constantly going in a downward spiral. Humanity was not being raised up. They were not being prosperous. They were not being bountiful. They were losing everything. But the priesthood was getting wealthy. Right along with the Romans who they've been working with. Are we clear? And logically, if someone starts to tell you how this stuff works, they get mad because it kills the system, because the people don't know that the church and the state are one. They're not separate. They never were separate. And this is again why targeted people, our communities are so destroyed. But they got the most churches. And now people don't know that they're spy centers. And you know, if you say it, they think that you're attacking the Creator in heaven, because they think them buildings belong to the Creator in heaven, type thing. Which they don't know either what that means anyway. They just say it because somebody told them what that is. It's not rejection. I'm just saying, you know how people say things and they never stop and think that they really haven't analyzed what they're saying, and that upon a challenge they can't defend it. It doesn't mean to reject it. It means they can't defend it upon a challenge. Do you understand? Which means they don't know what the hell they're talking about, but they feel good. You know, really. And they're broke. And so here's this con artist that lightens them, and they think that their pockets are lighter, so they think that they're being spiritual. No, their pockets are lighter, so they walk lighter. Oh, I just feel like weights lifted off. Yeah, look at your wallet. You don't see a purse that's strong. You know, and this is where, from a Kabbalistic lesson, where you see Yeshua arguing with the priesthood for stealing the widow's pennies. That's what that's really all about. You know, so the Bible is not to be rejected, it's to be comprehended in its proper light. Right. Are we clear? Clear. And it's to keep it simple for you, and then you can do some more research. It is cosmological in an anthropomorphic presentment. If you write that down and don't forget it, share it with your family, they'll start reading this book properly. All priests know that, and they are told that, and they pay for them degrees in their different lodges and Masonic orders, and then they take blood oaths of death to Rome not to reveal the secrets to the masses. Then they crown themselves with your crown, which is your fez. They dress it in jewels, and they name all of their lodges a Moorish name after a Moorish king or queen, or mostly feminine names, etc. And then, of course, you know Allah is a feminine energy name. Are we clear? So the way they trick you is they tell you it's a masculine name, and that you're immediately out of harmony with nature. Nature don't forgive you for playing with her because she don't play. No, she gives you breaks. You know, so this is how they make us sick. They make us sick by deception, because what happens, it creates disharmony in your energy fields because you're actually layered. You need to understand that. These bodies are layered.
Yeah. Quick question.
Get the mic.
You want me to come to you with 2 seconds?
Walk right front. You do your moonwalk thing.
You're right. Not these boots.
Now, and the other deal is to take this in, because I want, before you continue, hold your thought.
Okay.
Because what I was saying earlier, and mainly for you, is because the more pure you are in your thoughts, the more perfect you will build soul of man's temples. That's these. And see, it's kind of like they used to have what you call carbon paper when they want to make duplicity of stuff. Kind of think of these beings in layers like that. And that the one is the other, but it isn't. Are we clear? The key to not understanding or comprehending how you were made allows those who do know, who are less than honorable, to trick you into opening up your garment. You know, like when they talk symbolically when they hung Jesus on the cross, and the Romans liked his jalabia. That's that when you see that hooded garb that he had, that's called a jalabia. And they want to rip it up and share it with each other, and they couldn't tear it. The reason they couldn't tear it, because they didn't take his life, he gave it. But he did not open up to them. This is on another level of thinking. This is him knowing there is no death in the way that we have been told it is. But it lets them get their stuff off thinking they're getting over. He's going back to get them. But in their mind, they're getting over. But what it really means is that the dark priesthood can't get to you unless you give them jurisdiction. They have no power unless you willingly open up. It's like a vampire. You know, like you got your turtleneck on, and they're going, oh, why don't you just pull your collar down a little bit? No, I don't think so. What is this? Aren't you sweating a little bit? What? It's really up to your chin. Why don't you just roll it down? No, let's go. No passion marks today. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing. The priesthood will use anthropomorphic presentment, which is not wrong, it's just for children. See, this is what must be understood. It's for children. The same way if the baby, you know, you gave him Elmo a couple of years ago type thing. And one you pull a string, or one you shake him and he talks, and that's anthropomorphic. Are we clear? But that's so that they can relate to it. But that's not real. Are we clear? So Santa Claus is the Big Dipper. Are we clear? And then Rudolph's nose is the lead star, that bright star. You see? So when you become an adult, they tell you that some of us came from up there. And the slave is a ship. And they're millions of years old. They're not new. Are we clear? And that's always been that way on this planet. It's just been hidden from you so that you don't know how to reconnect. Are we clear? And so when there is sometimes a signal or communication that you will shut it out. Are we clear? Are we clear?
Clear.
And it has more to do with some of the people here imprisoning us. Are we clear? And trying to stop you from evolving to the level of seeing that removes all the fiction. Are we clear? Are we clear? Point, and the reason I said that to you is because of the cycle that we're in. The cure has to come from, it doesn't take anything from us, your sons. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? But it is you who have to fix this thing. Because it is your fall that brought us here. Are we clear? And it's not a superior or inferior projection. It is to know yourself. And so this is why you'll see that the priesthood concentrates so hard on getting women to deliver their children to the circle and don't tell them what the circle is. And so the circle translated, circle, Old High German, church. That's what the church is. Are we clear? Church is not wrong. Are we clear? Church is misrepresented. Are we clear? Are we clear?
Clear.
That's church. Are we clear? There's different angles that will be shown, but that's church. And then I want you to write this down.
Are you showing it now?
Huh?
You want me to expand it? Are you showing it now?
Well, I'll show it again.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to erase this, so anybody wants to come on this side, take a picture of this on your phone so you can study it later and then comprehend where we're going with this. But now, answer your question.
I almost forgot something. You know how the planes, like the Great Plains, for example, is measured by different rates of vibration?
Exactly that too.
With us being in the age of Aquarius, does this mean that
It's celebrating vibration.
Exactly. Does that mean that it's a chance that I will ask, where is our next phase of elevation? Is it that transmutation into the fourth dimension, or
Fourth and fifth.
Fourth and fifth?
The fourth dimension is where things are made manifest.
Right.
But it shoots through the earth.
Okay.
It actually shoots through the earth. On another level, you can call that a stair-step portal type thing. But many of you are already actually there in the fourth, because this is where people are getting confused now. Do you understand? Who don't really know what's happening to them.
Right. The mother asks, what did you mean by the stairs, the stair step of the...
That would be anthropomorphic. It is understanding that you're traveling while standing still. Or going through. You ever seen a stage prop where they have the rolling floor where you're standing and you're not walking but you're moving across?
Right. Or like at the airport where
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so that's a way of expression of layer traveling. Right? But I don't want to, I'm trying not to make anything confusing, if you get the point. So I'm saying it because many of you, probably in this energy time, are going to start having different experiences and might confuse you, but you need to know what's going on. All right, because the earth is being cleansed too at the same time. And then you have also it's sort of like some are digging you out of a grave, and then there's others who are angrily throwing dirt back on you, all at the same time. Are we clear? And the ones who throw the dirt back on you were the ones that wore these glorious clothes that were supposed to be pulling you out of the grave. And you've been paying them and giving them tithes and giving them charity, and they're saying, Jesus and Lord of God of heaven, of Allah, of Prophet Muhammad. And they've been raping you. So they're really upset, and most of them are the ones that will oppose this information being shared with you. And will say it's evil, it's shirk, it's haram, it's sin, it's anti-God, it's atheist, everything to save themselves, because they're going to be exposed for the demons that they actually are. And they know it's coming because they already know when you know that they know. And what they don't want is the masses to know, because some of y'all might lynch them anyway. That's another reason they're scared too. No, really, when a lot of you who have been struggling to eat, to live, who didn't know, say that this is a good example. Some of you, if you weren't so busy on the Job, in the book, Job, surviving, and you stop, pause, and start thinking back, and think all the land that was stolen from your grandmother and your great-grandmother, and none of y'all should have been poor, and y'all working at McDonald's, and trying, and y'all in, student loan debt and everything, and trying to get a job, and trying to survive, and trying to pay your phone bill, and the rent, and don't worry about the house because they keep taking them from you and all this stuff, and gentrifying your communities, and it never dawned on you that the priesthood have been sucking on you. They ain't been giving you jack. They've been jacking you up. And this, you ever notice that all the gods that they sell never answer your phone? But you got to pay them every week. Anybody ever do some accounting?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about it. Did anybody ever do some accounting?
Yeah.
A few years back, we was doing a radio show, myself and Severe Bay, at on Delaware Avenue. And you all probably know the radio station, but I ain't gonna say it, you know. But they had all these communities come together, and I know some of you will remember this, where they were charging these Chinese and Arabs was coming into the black community and taking millions of dollars out the black community with the black hair business. And they were going to, so you heard about that, right? Well, they was on the radio, this was a campaign in the Philadelphia area.
Protesting. Was it ball?
Yeah, so we weren't going along the program, and they were kind of upset with us because we weren't doing the black thing, you know, and feeling sorry for ourselves and going to protest. And anyway, so they did one of their campaigns. They were on 52nd and Girard, and was boycotting one of the Asiatic stores, right? Because the black hair business and shit, you know, all stuff. Anyway, so some of the Koreans did what everybody does in business. They did what you call market research. So they brought back a report, because this thing was really getting hot and hostile, which was really kind of unfair. And they said, the report, and it's mostly the East Coast, not the total area under the United States corporation jurisdiction, and not including North and South, which is Mexico and Canada, just under the Pope's jurisdiction in this area, under Queen Columbia, i.e. District of Columbia. That's a throne for Columbia, the Roman goddess. So Rome is ruling. Are we clear?
Clear.
And the intake for donations in general, just for the churches, not talking about anything else, was over $9 billion a year. 9 billion a year. And they're complaining about the multi-million-dollar black hair business that they're taking out of the community. But basically what they came back with the report is that, since these people don't believe in national and international principles, they believe in colors and racism, and they only build churches and bars. They build churches and they're always used around the corner from each other or even across the street from each other. And they say, you do what you want to do with your money, we do what we do with our money. You could do the same thing, but you choose to do this. We're not taking from you. We're serving you and giving good prices because you won't do it for yourself and you're angry at us. We could show you international trade, but you all don't deal with these kind of things. That's your choice. Don't condemn us for doing business, serving you when others won't. You won't serve yourselves. We're not against you. Anyway, that campaign kind of shut down because it was like a mirror. Because that's how hypocritical we've become. We've become so hypocritical that we haven't really studied ourselves and see that we are, in many ways, our own problem. It's not that we don't have resources, it's misdirected. Now, just because you have a bunch of adults that keep on accusing Jesus of having a bank account at Chase Manhattan, which he doesn't, and they keep giving it to these con artists, that's their choice to do. If they're locked up in the anthropomorphic belief that Jesus is giving them a sandwich next week, and that all their rewards is in heaven on a cloud, when the book that they claim to love says the kingdom is on the earth. That's their choice to be hypocrites. Don't get mad because other humans are prosperous. You can do the same thing. But we won't render back to the Romans that dogma system because we blame it on Jesus and Muhammad and everyone that had nothing to do with it. And we refuse to admit that we've become hypocrites. Are we clear?
Clear.
And then others won't talk to us to our face because we can fight. It's like I had to box him. Debbie said, oh yeah, I love the Lord of Jesus. And they'll start all this stuff and then you'll say, oh, I'm not into that. And you'll see horns come up. They want you to take your children on I-95 and play at lunchtime because you ain't giving Pastor Pickfoot $5 and make sure to put another $5 where Jesus is at. They really get, these people get evil. They'll be casting all kinds of mental spells on you, calling you devils, ostracize you, for real, and then talk about love and blessings, which means bleed you. And act like, because they know these people can't read, they don't know what that really means. That means bloodletting. So when the Romans will come say, bless you, child, sin no more, you better watch out. No, because they really just cast a spell. But the people who've been trained in this for so many generations, they actually think that is a charm of good from the ether world of the creative forces. No, it isn't. It's dark side. Then they take these people's babies underneath the executor chamber and they actually do let their blood out and eat their bodies. They'll come up and do a ritual and they'll have some crackers up there and some wine and say, well, this is the body. And it ain't grits either. And this is the blood. In the basement, they'd be doing it for real. They've always been doing it. It's never been other than that. Church, disciple, of the priesthood didn't fall, it always was that. It's that the people were asleep. Are we clear? And they themselves have been feeding these lush vampires with the robes behind the pulpit. Anyway, this is for you, little sis. I'm going to,
Are you gonna do it on that one?
yeah, I'm going to do it on here. Now, when you see on this book, Holy Bible, the word holy comes from Sanskrit. You'll see them say in linguistic, Sanskrit. It's actually Sam, S-A-M, scritta. But Sanskrit's fine. Sanskrit. Halik, which means he burns, and means the sun. And it also means whole, like the circle hole. And it also is the derivative of what you have now in linguistic form or dramatic form, in Latin form, holy. See, now the priesthood know this, but they will never tell the people because they don't want you to know. What that means is, now, and understand that Bible is not what this is. It's a heliotech, or sun book. Transits of the sun. Only anthropomorphically presented, are we clear? So Holy Bible means sun book, although Bible doesn't exactly mean book. It's actually from Biblia, which is in Asia, which is one of our cities where we used to make the papyri out of trees. So we made script there and books there. Also in parts of Olmec or Central America, we also did the papyri. And so the cities that are called Biblia, that's where we made a lot of books. So they adopted Bible, which implies book. And it doesn't really mean book, it's just the name of the city. So they say sun book. That's what that means. And so if you see Quran, say Holy Quran. Quran means to read. So that means sun reader. So the Holy Bible and Holy Quran are partner books for sun reading for the transits and eclipses and the equinoxes of the sun, charted in ephemerides, but put in a linguistic form for children as a story. Are we clear? And another way to look at this. Another way to look at this.
You're gonna have to take, they can't see you on Facebook or whatever.
I don't want to lose that. What was you saying?
No, I'm saying, Facebook can't see you over. I mean, you gotta take the board over there for Dr. Pierce fix.
Oh, excuse me.
The board.
Shift.
Oh.
Did you remove the board for you?
No, that's fine. This is
There
for
you
you
go.
all. But you can, yeah, do your thing. So, all right. Now, like say, as an example, say sis, you're, say, influential in the community. And you feel as though you've been called type thing. And so now you're going to pasture the sheep. Pole. All right. So someone will approach you and offer you into the lodge. It's not to be spoken out to others. They'll drop a little bit of knowledge on you, see how you respond to it. Your capacity to accelerate or to rise would be limited by your own response and how they present you as a candidate. Are we clear? Upon reception, you can be or may be helped by others to accelerate, to do it, to be put in position to make your life a little more comfortable. However, your job then after that would be to take an oath and help to keep the people asleep and making them think that you're bringing them to the light when actually you're putting a cap on them. Oh, you're tying their, they're in the race, but you're tying their sneaks together. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? All right. And then you would be told about the star in the east. That would be called the Eastern Star. So you see that crescent in the star?
Yes.
All right. So that star there's a duality to this. That crescent governs your womb. And that star, which is Venus, but it also could be Jupiter too, is your sun. That's me. That's us. But it's also the egg. And all of those eggs are duplications of you, even though you may assign some of your other daughters in your energy field to dance with us, to make us a male, so that we can move the species. Are we clear? That's why you outnumber us. Are we clear? You need to understand nature, how nature works. This is why women by nature spoil their sons, even though their son's older than their daughter. Because you already know we're halfway out to lunch. No, I'm just saying, because we're Y, she's X.
Right.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So we get impressed with this. Yeah, I got this covered.
Yes, indeed.
And then she come cut your hair off. Then you be trying to protect her from some other woman's daughter. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's nature. But it's not talked about. But it is known. For the males, that lets us think we got it going on. So we can have our place in the affair. Until you get mad at us and then you kick our asses. Do you understand? But while we think we got it going on, we go, yeah, I got this. No, we don't run jack. But, we build. So you send us out to do things. You understand? But you actually run the house. The key with the dark priesthood is to reverse that role. That's why women are always attacked. But it's done cleverly.
Right.
Oh, it seems innocent. It ain't innocent. Are we clear? So to conquer humanity and to conquer nature, you conquer the woman, but make it look like you're just simply battling her sons.
Right.
Are we clear?
Clear.
Now you understand the building in Washington, D.C., the Daughters of the American Revolution?
Yes.
And why sisters can cook there, they can sweep, but they can't be members? Because they're removing you from your role.
Yes.
They are the queens of the lesser light, or what you call daemon.
Yeah.
Don't look at this, don't knock them from a negative. This is not to reject them. It's for you to understand how the planet's working. Are we clear? And so, in the nativity of life on the planet, they called nations. This is why the manual for citizenship comes from that house. That's used all around the world. Are we clear?
Clear.
Are we clear? Basic civil, but the civilization principles was adopted from your forefathers. Are we clear? For they were born again. Born again is the translation of Renaissance, or what you call the Renaissance. Renaissance means to be born again. So when the Moors, Canaanite Moors, went into Europa, under Europa's jurisdiction, because remember, Europa is Asiatic Queen too, Babylonia. And the jurisdiction of the hybrids were taken there under her authority. And so they took on her name. That's not taken from you, it was given to them. Are we clear?
Clear.
So not to be rejected, don't put them down, because we must accept what we have created. So when they show you the movie Frankenstein, they're telling you the truth about themselves. But they're also telling you the truth about you.
Right, right.
Are we clear? Or they'll say it in French, that movie that some of you have seen, the Isle of Dr. Moreau. Moreau is French for more. And what it is hybrid. The other problem that you have that no one wants to talk about too much, particularly with the complexes in the Yucatan, those cities that they let grow over, and that they don't talk about in geography and in anthropology. You'll hear them mentioning about them, but you'll never see them display any what you would call research information in books in any detail about them. They'll talk about the scientific complexes in Mexico area that they let grow over, and for the most part, they don't let people go in that area. That's where some of the experiments were taking place with Yaku, Cushitis. And Cushitis is where you get Caucasus from. Yaku, Caucasus, Cushitis, Israel. That he was the head scientist, but you got to remember, while a lot of anthropologists and adepts give credit to Dr. Yaku, you got to remember it was 12 women scientists that is actually behind him. So no one talks about the 12 women.
Right.
They just talk about Yaku. Sort of like people talk about George Washington, but they don't talk about the people around him. It's just what you call a landmark or a mark point. Do you understand what I'm saying? You got to look at it that same way. But you got to also recognize that we have always been in communication with others, outside here and inside here. The reason why some adepts would refer to Yaku as the father of the devil is because there was a blending also of an 8th level outsider. And part of that genetic operation or genetic strain is in the Roman bloodline, or what our people call today the Occidental Paleolith European. Are we clear? And not many people want to go there and talk about that to really explain why we got problems on this planet. And you got to some degree a reality that we're not the top of the food chain, that they don't want to tell everybody. This is another part of your problem. Are we clear? Because if they told you the truth, everything that they would have told you before would fall apart. And they would lose control over you. But this is also why some things they can't fix. The German Dutchman Eisenhower signified about it a little bit. A little bit. Particularly when he mentioned, and you know that they altered it. Like they'll say, the German Dutchman said, beware of the military industrial complex. That's not what he said. He said, beware of the congressional military industrial complex. fact was that they made a deal for certain technologies to trade off sacrificing some of the humans for experiments. And that's true. Plus they've been feeding on them. This is why you have roughly around 900,000 children that go missing just in the Americas alone, and they won't tell the people the real numbers, and they keep on acting like they don't know what's going on. Two things. This is for their eugenics program for selling organs, and also to feeding the carcasses and feeding certain blood types and certain blood mixtures to both themselves and to the others. And that's been going on for quite a while. But I'll say this much about that, and I'm not going to go into deeper in that. That's being brought to a screeching halt, because there are some others on this planet that also are more advanced and have been working to undo some of what has been going on actually for centuries. From a mental perspective, on a light level, that's what this class is right now. You know, I'm just telling you bluntly what it is. State of mind, vibrational, where you are, has much to do with fixing this thing. Don't underestimate you. Are we clear? It's sort of like whosoever will, let him hear. Whosoever will, let him come. Whosoever will, let him act. Whosoever will, let him know. It's your garment. You know, trusting, sort of like what Dr. Naila said when her drive, sort of like, how much do you really want to help fix this thing? And how much more do you want to suffer? The choice is yours. However, why not have a little bit of love and maybe not willingly sacrifice the next generations? How about that? You know, how about having some degree of integrity that's left in you that has not been taken out? Because one of the things that they've been doing was actually that they've been dehumanizing you, truthfully. And while many have passed the test, many of them are still in darkness, which makes them dangerous. But at the same time, they are kind of puts them in danger because they're going to be eliminated. And all should have a chance. That's my position. My position that if one knows, one can make choice. If one doesn't know and one continues to follow the priesthood, because they already planned to take the position that you have the intelligence, you didn't use it, and all they did was call you, and you followed them, and therefore you're responsible and take your head. Because that's what the plan. I'm telling you, that's what the plan is. So the deal of it is you know, it's sort of like you know, like I vacuumed this floor before this little while ago, before you start coming in, and you know how when the canister is full, and you got to go over the floor a few times because the draw is sort of like that. It is sort of like all this is intended to do is kind of clean up some of the scrap that some of the others who were already cleaning up missed. And then some will come after me and do the same thing.
That's right.
However, it is to get you thinking again. It is to kind of push you a little bit, agitate you a little bit. Because you have to do the work. That's, again. Now, let me do this to expose the priesthood again, who have not told the people the truth about this book. Because it's not a negative. Do you understand? It's just anthropomorphically not explained. Go ahead.
I have
The mic.
Give her a mic. Not from the front.
Yeah, I remember it.
You know what we should do? We should get more than one mic, keep one on.
what we do, that'd be awesome.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
On both sides so it can be,
we work on that.
huh?
Yes,
Yeah.
we'll work on that.
Okay.
Starting next time.
All right.
I have a question. Islam to you, Captain. I'm excellent.
Oh, come on, man. Hold it.
I had to do that.
That's funny.
It is very funny.
That's funny.
I have a question about the priesthood. From my novice research and understanding, is this is what will be considered the second priesthood? Of
Well,
all-
yes, yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
All right. It is the priesthood cribbed.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah. Because all priests are dark.
Right.
Now, but the point of it is that
So this is
This-
like a copycat, like he was talking about
yeah.
the first priesthood laid the foundation for understanding the cosmology, but this priesthood,
It would be called Rome.
gotcha.
And so Rome's job is to murder all the prophets and the seers and to claim the world and claim themselves as God. And this is where you'll see in the book of Thessalonians 1 and 2, where Yahshua says, remember I told you these things when I was yet with you, that they would climb the throne, claim to be God, etc. And so you must understand that Rome is the God of this world, but not of this planet. What they're talking about is the world of anthropomorphic misrepresentation and deception and corruption to claim the planet and all inhabitants thereof. Are we clear?
So the overthrow of the initial priesthood was during a time period where they were excommunicating and burning the witches and seers.
Let's go beyond that.
Yeah,
So-
let's go behind the veil.
See, so the priesthood actually is the knowledge science of woman herself. You gave us a crown, which is the fez. The fez is the power knowledge of the universe, not in totality, but in general. So those of you who have a fez, you'll see on your fez, and just like even when they give you the cap and gown when you graduate, except it will be squared. And this cross will be on an oblique. And on the oblique, if you pull the umbilical cord and the ball of mud called Earth with its degrees, like this, it will turn into a pyramid. Are we clear? But that's the key to the circle and the square. But they're both 360 degrees. You see? And so that's your square also in your circle. And that's your radii. All right? So this would be it now with your triplicity in all your four gates. You don't have to be a producer tonight. So you would see 33 and a third, right? At that point, then that's the master seal. Then this would be the master seal, right? Now, so you have the 33 and the third. Now for can you help me?
Absolutely.
Now,
13.
in the book of revealing or revelation, and this is why a lot of the priesthood really don't get in Revelation and tell a lot of people, the followers, you didn't get into that, and it's too deep for you and shit. Whatever. Chapter 21. So 2 and 1 are what?
3.
So your vernal equinox is what? March, the 3rd month, 21st. Springtime. That's the new year. So read this entirely.
What
I'm
is it?
sorry, 21. So can I ask you a question?
No, I want you to read that, then you're going to ask me a question.
Okay.
So keep this in mind. Pay attention to what you're hearing. But put it in perspective. Are we clear?
Where is
Please,
it found
have fun.
at? Say where it's found at.
While I'm drawing.
Revelation 2014. Well, I'm actually reading chapter 21.
Holy Bible, Revelation, so the people that are listening, because remember they're listening in China, they're listening in other countries.
So I'm reading from the Holy Bible, Revelation, subtitled The New Jerusalem, chapter 21. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea. I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away." He who was seated on the throne said, "I am making everything new." Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." He said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty, I will give to drink without cost from the spring of the water of life. He who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the idolaters, and all liars, their place will be in the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. One of the 7 angels who had 7 bowls full of the 7 last plagues came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb." And he carried me away in the spirit to a mountain great and high, and showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming out of heaven from God. It shone with the glory of God, and its brilliance was like that of a very precious jewel, like a jasper, clear as crystal. It had a great high wall with 12 gates, and with 12 angels at the gates. On the gates was written the names of the 12 tribes of Israel. There was 3 gates on the east, 3 on the north, 3 on the south, and 3 on the west. The wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them were the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. The angel who talked with me had a measuring rod of gold to measure the city, its gates, and its wall. The city was laid out like a square, as long as it was wide. He measured the city with a rod and found it to be 12,000 stadia.
Now hold
Is that enough?
Yeah, hold that there. Now hold that there. Now. Yes.
Okay. Stadia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, what you're dealing with, so these are what you're dealing with, these are your 12 tribes of Israel. Elohim, Amen Ra. See? Mm-hmm. All right. Isis. So you need to understand, it is the knowledge, the bride is your knowledge from the womb. you're getting back, and then giving the real science of what that book is all about back to humanity, to relieve them from the dark priesthood who actually been raping you. Are we clear? And logically, this is how you get the news. Do you understand? And then, of course, in each one of your gates is the 3 wise men who follow the stars. They're master astrologers. Are we clear? So to get back to the culture, that's for adults. Now for children, they're looking at 3 wise men when they look at Christmas cards and they see them riding the camels, and then they see the pyramids in the back. But this is all symbolic. Now the priesthood and the adepts know that this is what it is. But they refuse to teach it to the masses so that they can rape them and have them take care of them. They're parasites. Are we clear? Their time is over. That's what this time is all about. Are we clear? Now, it is them who have been holding humanity up, not some mystery devil in hell. No, it's really the hell, which is the chambers beneath the church, where they put people who didn't pay their tithe to Rome. It's called the executor's chamber. That's why they don't have people studying law and anthropology together. That's why they don't show people in law books. You understand? When you see, when you were coming back from Herat, etc., in Galilee, when you see Yeshua, we're married, and then went home, and then Yeshua, at the age of 12, he's down there disputing with the priesthood who's doctoring up the law. That's what that's all about. That's what they've done. The doctrine of the law is them taking the anthropomorphic format and promoting it as religion to put the world in darkness while not telling them this is what it really is. And so this is really the church. Are we clear? Now, can you erase that? Yeah. Now, anthropomorphic, and then you're going to, and then make an ankh.
I don't have that chicken scratch then, right?
Yeah. Anyway.
As you were saying.
So the lesson is this. Because it's necessary, because a lot of your family members, when they start getting this information, get threatened by it, because most of our people have been groomed in the church and don't know they've never been taken to church. And so when they see this, they think this is the devil's work. Because Reverend Jones told them that, while he himself got his degrees on this. Are we clear? And that's the secret of his power. The secret of his power is not revealing what it really is. Even though if you knew the book, it's there. For others of you, looking as they close out the Old Testament, where you see Malachi, where it says the Son of Righteousness arises with healing in his wings, it will be spelled S-U-N. So it's there, but they're not telling you that it is the Son. And it's the transits of the Son. Are we clear? So what they do, they let the children grow up as adults, and they take the book literally. Well, yeah. And they keep them.
No, the circle.
Go ahead, Sharon, sister. Oh,
I can't draw a straight line and save my life right now.
That's pretty good.
Leave it open? Okay. Yeah. You gonna help me?
No.
Oh. I just leave it like this. Is that right? Can I ask a question? So, speaking of the dark priesthood, right? Would you agree that she said keep it open? No, it's like
Well, you can,
okay.
but the reason, this is the way it is.
You're right.
But that doesn't open up until a fish comes up,
Right.
or a sperm,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Then it opens up.
Yeah.
Sometimes they compete with each other. There's someone they backstroking and someone, and whoever gets there first, they got it. Then she lets them in and closes it all to everybody else, and everybody else comes food. Then they feed it.
Yeah.
Or that's how it works. That's the uterus. You know what I mean? Oh, now, hold on. Now, you all recognize this, right? Right?
Yes.
That's it. All right. Exactly. And so you do like this. Now, if you look in your all your old churches all around the world, you'll see this, right? So the thing for you to know that the priest ain't telling you is that this is the church, not the building. Are we clear? This symbol is the church. All right? But what it is called the Coptic church, or the Coptic cross. All right? And that is a mix of this and that. Are we clear? Also, you'll see it like this. In the abstract, it's still in a physical format, but it's also abstract. Right? Like this is called nimbus. And this is, excuse the scribble, because I did this quick. And like say for instance, if she's opened up all her chakras, right? Opened up all her chakras. And particularly if she's past the heart chakra, right? Symbolically, we've opened up her breastplate and show her heart beating. And then we crown her with the nimbus. Are we clear? And this would be usually gold or dressed up really beautiful. Are we clear? And the only one you would not see would be the one that would be covering the medulla. Like if she's standing forward, you'd see the crown over her head, and the bottom gate, the south gate, would be hidden because it would be touching her medulla.
Is that symbolized as the halo?
Huh?
Is that symbolized as the halo?
Yes, that's the nimbus. Or you'll see old pictures in the anthropomorphic format with Ios or Jesus with the nimbus over his head, and then you'll see a few of the other priests who have reached those degrees also have one. And theirs will be lesser, but they would have a nimbus. That would be the Stargate. All right, now, then to symbolize the abstract or the mastery of this without the geometry of the numbers on it, then you would see this. And then you would have your threes here, 3 there, 3 there, 3 there, 4 times. So that would be 4, right? Your 4 gates, right? Right? 3 in each gate, right? And so that would give you your 7. And so in the heart of this, you have that. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
But you need to know that all of them relate to the same thing. It's according to your degrees. Are we clear? But to know the earth culture, you're supposed to be aware of that, and the priesthood is supposed to tell you all of this. And so that you don't reject one for the other and be sticking each other with bobby pins and toothpicks talking about, you don't know the Lord, like I do type thing, and his peanut butter sandwiches ain't good as mine. You know, that what you see going on the planet. Give him the mic. Are we clear? Also, thank you, Gian, for aiding and supporting and all the Good stuff.
Peace, Brother Taj.
Appreciate you.
That adds on to where the priesthood create divisions amongst the so-called religions
Because they're demons.
Right, they're creating.
But they haven't been suspected and they haven't been brought in check.
Right.
And see, because the people believe they are God's men, they are.
Wow.
Last lesson. Government ordinance departments of Rome. G-O-D. G dot, period dot, your O dot, D dot. So the people thinking that the priesthood is talking about the creator of Allah in heaven, of the lords of our Father. No, they're talking about Pope of Rome, who they work for. And the deal, they've been getting this off for centuries. The point of this lesson and other lessons is to get them out of your way. You must get them out of your way.
Islam.
Because they're in place to stop you from developing. It's also they're in place to steal your wealth while pretending that some mystery devil has been robbing you. And it's been them. This is why all of your people in power belong to secret societies. And you be thinking that all the secret societies are different. They're different names of the same flavor of ice cream of Joe. Make you curse the divine order of goodness, God, in you, and then worship them. And then they're the middlemen. And then they take the throne. See, so that's why the word God is loosely used, and the children or the people with childlike minds, as soon as you say the word God, they get all teary-eyed and think you're talking about the creator in heaven of the Lord of goodness of, and you're always in debt to him, so he's the collector for him. He's the tax collector. They're just called tithe. And so it's called the bishop's seat. And so your first 10 degrees after each gate is called the bishop's position. So the bishop is the helper. Yeah. And then the other ones are what? Deaconess. That's where you get deacon in the church. All of these degrees around here are deaconess. And all of these points, the noble points, are cardinal points. That's where you get cardinal in the church. They just ain't telling you. Go ahead.
Also in the church hierarchy, I believe that
Believe nothing, start knowing.
right. I know that not the deacons, the bishops are actually a promotion. From pastor to bishop, that's a promotion as well.
Yeah.
Right.
They're getting close to a cardinal
Right,
point.
absolutely.
They're helping the ruler. They have rulers of the gates.
From preacher to bishop to cardinal. That's
All around the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Big business.
So you had 4 horsemen.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So, when you understand this, it's cosmology. It's not a negative. Do you understand? It is the science of earth culture. It's just not told. And when people get close to it, the priest would tell you that's devil worship. That's that pagan. Pagan really means earth, people of earth. Or people who honor the earth. But just like witch, they give it a negative, and the people, oh man. And all of these people, and then when you start learning, you say, oh, they're sun worshipers. No, that's a lie. They're sun knowers. They ain't worshiping the Lord, they're worshiping the sun and shit. That's why, like for instance, you have the different competitors who are fighting among themselves for the service of humans, which is why they will never tell the people in the churches that when they say Amen, they'll never completely say Amen Ra, because that's who it is. So that you don't start doing that tracer and recognize that Yahweh, Amen Ra, and others were competing over you. And none of them is really your gods. They were different rulers at different times.
Quick question.
And our people been trained that these were your gods in heaven? No, they were just simply other travelers that interchanged with us. Then some of them started making you think that they were your creators, when some of them were just simply more evolved than you, and also afraid that you get more evolved, because some of you are capable of me being more ascended than some of them. But if they could put a cap on you, do you understand? They would stunt your growth, which is really what's been going on. Now, the issue of when Jesus come again, justice, that's why Drawley would say Jesus means justice. It's not etymological that he's talking about. He's talking Kabbalistically, for those who recognize where he's coming from. That's why he told you, be careful. Some of your own brothers and sisters wearing turbans and feathers will be trying to put, he's talking about the priesthood back in servitude. But he's also saying the half has not been told, because he wants you to start thinking. He said, if I could get you all thinking again, you'd save yourselves. Because he's really telling you that it's already in you. You've been trained to keep going out. That's the workings of the priesthood. It has nothing to do with divinity. It has to do with opposite polarity. Opposing polarity. It's a rule in nature. See, this is how they do it. So that they don't get the karmic response, because nature doesn't recognize personal station. That's why they spend so much energy deceiving people, so that they can get you to violate divine law, and they're just happening there to be picking up the crumbs. Blessing you. In other words, they're sipping the louche.
Can you spell louche for me?
That's your energy output. Meaning, like, when you gather like this,
Spelling.
according to where your energy is. See, they have a kind of a hard time in a cycle, in a place like this. But in your church, mosques, and synagogues, how they become what they become centers where they gather you together and suck on you. You just don't see it because you don't know your cords are all not visible. Are we clear? You know, like when you got that that umbilical cord on your fez, that represents the crown chakra. But it also symbolizes your connection to the rest of the universe. It also represents a cord of travel, but that's symbolic. But in actuality, in the layered plane, it's really there. The priesthood don't want you to know because he sucks you from there. Are we clear? In other words, they suck you just like batteries. So they get you in one place all together that's stronger, and they suck on you. The problem that they're having with us is that we've been cutting the cords. So they don't like people like Taj Tarik. They hate me. Not that I'm just looking. You know, put it this way, I'm working too. God, you got chief sneaks. Well, I see them. See, they're angry because some of us see. And once you see, once you're not afraid to see, nature herself, even if you are resistant, which I've been resistant, so I'm just telling you truthfully, it's an act of nature. So the sun heats you up anyway, whether you like it or not. The sun is neutral. It shines on the good as well as the evil. How you take it or how you use that energy, that's where you are. You either in the higher self or you lean to the lower, whichever side you're in. It's a choice. It's like you exercise. Dr. Naim, give her the mic, please. Share with people that Facebook thing that Dr. Naima did yesterday, please.
Oh, yeah.
Post that, because everybody needs it. I was so I'm looking at it again. But anyway, go ahead, Doc.
Yes, sir. Right with Dr. G.
Right, with Dr. G.
Oh, I have to go back and look at it.
It's
I can't hear you.
It's on
Uh,
what you were talking about as far as the energy of the vampires and energy. I posted something yesterday because you know how I get things that drop in. So I found a picture. I went and found a picture of a Roman Colosseum, and I got a picture of a basketball stadium full of people, and I put them over top of each other, and I said, I said, what's the best place to harness, a lot of adrenaline-fueled energy? And I said,
ley lines, all them buildings are built on metrology knowledge.
Right, but the point I was making though was that the fact that when they had all those people together, they had they were fighting gladiators or fighting lions. That energy, that adrenaline, not only coming from the gladiators, but the crowd, the fever pitch. That was that energy.
They feed.
Right, but the same thing is happening in these sports arenas and these large gatherings, and we don't realize. And you said this the other day, or maybe today. You said we don't realize we are batteries.
Yeah.
And so because we are batteries and we are, they're drawing from us.
The best, that's an allegorical way to put it, but we're transceivers. Now, and this is why we've been telling people this for over 30 years. They need to know what they are.
Absolutely.
These beings. My main argument why I'm so rebellious in that area is because I know that they know, and I know that they know what they're doing to these people. And they're using Jesus, God, Allah, Moses, Buddha, Muhammad to do it. And because the people don't know, or don't, for the most part, many of them don't have a Gnostic background themselves, it makes them vulnerable as victims for these feeders. And the major feeders are the ones standing behind the pulpit who they least expect. That's the feeders. But many of them are on the lower part of the totem pole. Most of them are working for others in a hierarchy.
Absolutely.
And then some of them are possessed by other energies, knowingly. Problem is that the masses have never, for the most part, been aware of them. This is the other problem that, for some of you who know, and for others already know where I'm talking about. And I'm just skimming it, really. Say, for instance, if you pass through some of the layers, willingly or unwillingly, anytime you do, there's an imprint package, meaning that there's an energy pack, right? Most of us reject because we want to experience this without interference. And then plus, if you acknowledge sometimes you have to leave. Or sometimes you will be clearly that you don't belong on this side. And then people will make you unhappy because they will reject you. And then you're unhappy because you want to be a part. Do you understand? So a lot of people deny or don't find that point of balance where they can operate here and there. Do you understand? So they choose one or the other. And then some who don't understand it, or even some people who open up the other chakras artificially ahead of time, then they appear like they're out to lunch. And then they're really unhappy because they really don't fit. But do you understand what I'm saying to you? And everybody wants to be loved. They want to be a part. You know, we're social beings. So they need to understand how they work so that they can handle these things better, and that they can be better people, and that that they can use the energy to help clean this thing up, because it is the birthright of all of us to be able to walk the plains without giving up the physical body. This is what Jesus came to show, to demonstrate that. Now, you say Yahshua, but actually it's the Son. But that is your capacity and the nature of how your mother made you. It's not outside you, it's already in you. The priesthood have been using your own energy against you to lock you down, to enslave you, to make sure that the shell of the seed doesn't open up. Meanwhile, they've been feeding it on you like in a garden at will, coming and just feeding on you. And that's what's been going on this planet. Now, the problem is, so now the wool is being pulled off of them and you, and so there's confusion all over the place because some of us are scared. You know, like, you know, you've been in a cave and you come out and you see the sun, and we're not talking, that's symbolic, but damn, I gotta tell you about the sun. Well, you know, you've been in a cave, it's always been there. Your concepts, your sight has been covered. But you need to recognize that the energy you're in now, you're not allowed to go back into the cave. So there's no need to run, there's only a need to learn. A need of acceptance, a need of tolerance, a need of love, a need of not selfishness. And you need to know that. Are we clear? So that you don't trip while you're being woken up. Also, so you don't start punching in the dark because you're mad, because your illusion that Santa Claus didn't bring you that bike is over. In other words, dogmata is, in the name of religion, has been what the adults have been dealing with the same way Santa Claus has been for their children. And they thought that they grew up. And they're getting ready to get a rude awakening too. That their belief systems has been their Santa Claus. The adults. And they think they know the Lord type thing. And not knocking them, but that's really what's going on now. That's another reason for this lesson. All right? Now, hold your question. Because she's going to ask something. And then...
Well, YouTube is kind of blowing up with a lot of questions. And one of the questions is from Will Blast. He's posted a question like 3-4 times. He would like for you to build on the December through January 1st being celebrated, also for the defeat of the Moors at Granada in 1429. So I guess when you talk about the misrepresentation.
Here we go. Yeah,
Christmas,
this is the misrepresentation.
Going to the January 1st misrepresentation.
Now, them walking Jesus to the hill and they're going to lynch him and stuff like that. But that's for the children. That's anthropomorphic. And what that is, it is the winter solstice is coming to the gate, right? So you're dealing with the 21 degrees, right? So you're coming around as in the transit of the sun, right? And what's called the winter solstice. So it's the 21st late, very late, going into the 22nd. So you're dealing with the 22nd, basically. And now you would have a sidereal look at it in the actual movements, and that would be your real, what you call heavenly clock. But on your Egyptian calendar, that is really not Gregory's calendar. They'll say Gregorian calendar. It's not really his calendar. All they did was they did the leap year type stuff and then take credit for it. That's not his calendar. That's yours. Are we clear? Then bicameral, you must look at that your real knowledge and your real earth culture is the moon calendar and the sun calendar together. But because the priesthood dumbed you down, our people get confused if you're telling them to chew gum and jump rope. And so, you know, they keep on doing this either or type thing, and it really isn't either or. It's all of it. Then, if you're less fallen in the layers, you also know now is the sun, the moon, and also Venus, and Jupiter, and the 7 others. So now you got a clock, you got to watch with 7 dials. And you'll read it with just as much ease as you're looking at this, quarter after. You know? And you'd be looking at all of them, but then your mind would also be dealing with the energy fluxes of all of them before your face at the same time in a normal breathing pattern without any big deal. It's a big deal because we've fallen that far. Are we clear? Clear. But it need not be. Point that I'm making is not to just share the information to let you know that you're going back to that level, so you may as well get used to it. And so that you can handle it and don't think that you're out to damn lunch. But also understand that you're going to have to let go all of what you thought was. But you're not letting it go, you're seeing it differently. Are we clear? Are we clear? Clear. Meaning that you're not mad at everybody for celebrating Santa Claus. I love the lights. Beautiful. But you're not, oh man, I need to get 3 more jobs. You know, these credit cards, and, you know, you don't do that. Because you already know Santa Claus is not real. But you want to make the children happy, so you do the gift giving, because the gift is the sun.
That's right. Say that again.
It's coming back.
That's right.
So everybody's happy. Damn, it was cold. You know, it's at 26 it got warmer because the sun came up a degree. Came out of the tomb. So, point. On the 22nd, the sun hides because it's at its lowest declination. It's sort of like, look at it just like this, from your point of view on the planet of Gaia, wherever you may be on Gaia. So on the point of Gaia, as Gaia is following in a spiral to the sun, the different areas, so therefore the sidereal operation of the energies of the sun's rays would be hitting the different parts of the planet on a different cycle of both its turn and its travel. Therefore, the true calendars would be variable around the world. Are we clear? However, we agree to use certain structural political calendars that we construct. And then different areas use them as their experience measurements. We call it time, which kind of like don't exist the way we like to think it does. It's just for chronology purposes, so get over it. So, in some areas, New Year will be in September. In the North Gate here, which is the North Gate, in the North Gate, right? So you have summer, your summer solstice. That means sun, sol. Sol means sun. So sun stands still, solstice. So summer solstice, right? Fall or autumnal equinox, winter solstice, spring equinox. You see? So spring equinox is called the star is in the east. Like if some of you noticed, say maybe last week, if you all paid attention, you would have saw Jupiter up there and the crescent moon. Just this past week. It might still be visible, very strong. That's your crescent and the star. It's not belief, that's the workings of nature. Are we clear? You're supposed to know that. We're joyous and we share and we have dinner and stuff like that because we're enjoying the harvest that was done before the crops went dead, before the sun went out and all the crops said, oh shit. And they're all like that. You know, you ain't going out there picking. If you didn't pick that, hey, he's gonna rub and you opening that loaf of bread and you reaching in and you at the back of the package and hey, somebody took the heel. It's like you cross type thing, you know. And so what that is, we got to understand harvest, planting, things like this. And so that's where your almanac comes from, is transits of the sun. And so you look at the patterns with the moon, with the waters, and so it's a record of where the fish go, when they come to breed. The plant. This is where you see Jesus feeding the people with a fish and grain. They call it Jesus diet. It's you knowing the earth, your compatibility with your relationship to it. You go to church, yes, the circle, i.e. the culture, earth culture. Your religion. You're relying on or to the principles of your ancient mothers and fathers that is tried and true. It is the maxims of truth. Your lifeblood. And so, the 22nd, the sun went out. For 3 days, you ain't seeing nothing. So he's in the tomb. So this is where they have anthropomorphic, Jesus is in the tomb for 3 days. But then, they went and checked the tomb, and he was gone. The stone was moved away. It's a miracle and shit. You know? And the real deal is, the 25th, after the 25th, he comes out. Damn, he's alive. Boy, we sure are happy. And that's what it is. Because we already know, wow, sooner or later, now we can't wait for what? Lent. We're going to start planting and stuff. Springtime, so eggs and all stuff, and palm trees, and get over it. This is symbolic. That's anthropomorphic for the reality of the workings of nature. So now, at the equinox, right, of the spring, we call it springtime. That's the new year, the 21st of the third month, third moon. See, so now you know. Let's look. So in another part of the world, September is the new year, right? And so that is what? That is the 7th month. Septa is 7. Octa is 8. Nova is 9. Desa is 10. Janus is what? 11. What? Now what's next? Huh? The water bearer. You see? And so now, you didn't water everything. Oh, didn't water the plants. And so now what? March, winds and stuff, and comes in like a lion and all this stuff. And, hey, man, springtime. Notice how the daughter seeds is coming up. And you see the daughter plants, all the seeds. It splits, and you have twin leaves, and they're called daughter leaves. And now you already know it's springtime, or the vernal equinox. It's the new year. So, March the 21st in the North Gate is the new year. Point. Janus 1, near midnight. The Alhambra fell as Boabdil ceded it to Romans or the Vandals so that they would not burn it. And that they made an agreement to let the women and the children leave. that they would not slaughter them. Are we clear? Now, over a period of months, while this was taking place, that's in Al-Andalus. So Al-Andalus is what's called in reconstructed history after the fall of our forefathers, or the Moors, they renamed Al-Andalus Spain. And this is why they have in your lodges and your Masonic lodges what they call red house, blue house. These are chairs or positions. Well, the red house is the Alhambra. And so it fell January the 1st. So the march for the fall of the Moors is January the 1st. It's the fiscal new year of the Roman conquest of the Moors. And they adjust the calendar to set you out of harmony with nature so they can control your food supplies. It's a war act. Plus, mentally, as you adjust to the calendar, not knowing the truth of divine law, you get sick. Because your vibrations change. So now, they've got a genocide program, and they're making finance while doing it, and we're helping them. Are we clear? Out of ignorance. Now, back to layers, and give this brother Mike for a minute. So, look at these, say, if you cut out little forms, right, and put about 7 layers, and make them like shadows, and the closer you put them together, the closer you come to the wholeness. The issue of the altering of the calendar by the Dark Priesthood, by Gregory and the Priesthood, is to get you out of harmony, because it has to start in the pineal or in your crown. And that shifting opens up you to other things. Then they can enter in with psychic attacks and make you sick. Are we clear? Clear. Now, to conquer us, you're the target because you produce male and female. So the deal of it is to make you think in the name of religion that you're lesser than the son you created. That's us. Are we clear? Right? We got these buttons here. Them suckers don't feed nothing. Just remind us where we come from. Are we clear? Right? Now, so, like they'll have a symbol of Horus and a set, or they'll say Horus and Isis, right? So here Horus is sitting on his mother's lap, sucking her breast, and everybody worshiping him. Like, she didn't make him. Like, he greater than her. And once they get you in that frame of mind, you're sick again. Are we clear? All they need to do is get women to accept that.
That's true.
Now we're done. That's what's been happening to us. The symbol that they will use would be the Sphinx head and the Moorish sword, that 2-edged sword above her head, which means the subjugation of the Moabites. That means they conquered you, they got us. So we can do all this Samson stuff all day long. Don't be impressed. We start talking about saying the secret society, do the secret handshake and stuff like that, and then you put your finger in your nose like this, and do it like that, and then that's the password. Bullshit. And they make people pay a lot of finance, and then people tell nobody what this really means and shit. And that's the game that they play. And people have fallen for it. We bought into it, and then the women take their children to the circle thinking they're going to the church, not knowing that priest is a demon. Not only that, they pay him. And so they deliver their children to them, and his job is to give them an anthropomorphic presentment that switches their layers. then he feeds off of them, and he lets others feed off of them that he has an agreement with. And they think he's working for the Lord. Yes, he is. The Lord Priesthood of London, from the Circle Church and the Chancery on Fleet Street, England, that run all the judicial systems in the Western Hemisphere. So Jesus means justice. So they hang Jesus and give you the Lords of London. Are we clear? Then they answer to the God King, who claims to be Peter Pata, which is the Pope. That's how it works. Then they feed on you, and because they're feeders, when they eat all your flesh and your blood, all you got left is what? Skull and bones. Then the helpers that they call familiars, that you think is Reverend Pigfoot, is Boule, who is imitation helper of the Bishop Order of Skull and Bones. Then from their Boule, they are assigned as your leader guys to march you all around the place, beg all the time. Oh, you're saved, but you're always begging. Oh, and of course you too. And you're praying P-R-A-Y, and they're praying P-R-E-Y. And you believe in them. That's Thessalonians 1 and 2. Are we clear? So, the misrepresentation of Christmas is Chris is the hiding or the denying you the Christ degree in mass. They bring you together and suck you, and you're thinking you're giving honor to the Lord. The creators, which is also in you, just get over that first, don't need no fiat from the Federal Reserve operations of the Jesuits. You know, like, remember Richard Pryor? Some of you might remember Richard Pryor, the comedian. I forget how it really goes, but it was one of the jokes he said was along this order. I was walking down the street and minding my own business, eating my lunch. And then I heard a voice come out of heaven with authority and power. And the voice said unto me, give me a bite of that sandwich. I said, what? And he looked around. And the voice said again with authority and power, give me a bite of that sandwich. And he thought for a minute and he was thinking, damn, I'm hungry and shit. He said, you God, you make your own sandwich. Anyway, so the real deal, well, the real deal is, when you look at us as a people, for all the godness that we've claimed, all of our spirituality that we've claimed, why are all of the organizations we belong to begging organizations? While these people keep telling their children how saved they are, how blessed they are, how prosperous they are. And they're always begging. Now, when you look at the good spells, now they used to preserve some of the culture in what they call good spells to counter the bad spells. And they would preserve this culture in code. Swing low, sweet chariot is the crescent star in the eastern sky. That's the chariot. And also the dippers. Now they're becoming beautifully sung, choreographed, begging songs. And they call it gospel music, which is good spell. And they forgot that. They used to be code songs for both escaping from Roman operations of the Inquisition, and also to preserve the culture. Now they're begging songs. I just want the guy to give me a sandwich. And all this stuff. And then they got the familiars marching them all over the place, begging Rome for rights, begging Rome for this, begging Rome for that, while claiming they fear nobody but Allah, fear nobody but Jesus. No, Rome is their God. It's another reason you're getting this lesson. Because it is you that must reject that whole paradigm. Because the cleanup must come here, then it must come to the heart. Because that's the meeting place. And then you must clean up this planet. And stop contaminating these children, and stop delivering these children to Pastor Pigfoot, who is a 32 and 33 and a third-degree Mason, which is a mother's son who went dark. Are we clear? And been helping Rome enslave you, and got the nerve to still wear your crown. Are we clear? Now, in the clubs, they will call your fez tiara, or tiara sol, which means crown of the sun. Are we clear? Go ahead, good brother. Start following you up.
So now, just to carry on the theme you had with the new year, can you?
I don't.
Okay, to carry on with your theme with the new year, can you speak to the symbiolatry of the Murmurs parades and the representation of what that means in terms?
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, around this same time, around the world, in South America and in Al-Andalus, they will have a ritual that they do every year where they have Christians, people dressed up as Constantinians, because most of the people that claim to be Christians are really Constantinians. But they hide behind the name Christian. Are we clear? Clear. Because the Christian principle is ours. The Christ degree. They're really Constantinians. So they hide behind Christianity, and then they dress up, and you'll see them going through sword battles with Moors. Now, the Mardi Gras in Little Spain. So Little Spain is what you call Louisiana. All right. So this is where you see them put the crescent and the star upside down. You'll see the crescent upside down with the star under it. So you're defeated. You understand? Then they march around, and in honor of the strength of woman, you'll see women walk around with their breast out, and then they'll put beads that represents jewels, Jew, knowledge. It's not a belief system. That symbolizes the different colors, the energies of the different planets. Of course, we use colors for healing. And this is back to what Dr. Naila does, which you call Reiki. Now, the deal of it is, that's kind of a cheap symbolic way, but actually they symbolize or represent crystal stones. Yeah, but that'd be too expensive, so they do the beads and stuff like that. And then some of the women expose their breasts, and what that represents is the strength and the lifeblood. It's not a negative. Don't look at it as a negative. People who don't understand will look at it as a negative. It's not a negative necessarily. And then the Mummers Parade now at the Carpenters Hall or the Odd Fellows Hall. This is where many of the priesthood and many of the orders of the Knights of Malta and Knights of Columbus met on Market Street in Philadelphia, Shaka Moxon, and where they organizationally started altering the books and taking things out of congressional records. All right? And this is why the Mummers Parade would begin there. Now, and they would assemble at 6th and Moore Street. Then march westward, Horace Greeley, Whigmore Party. They would wear wigs, curly wigs, imitating the Moors. That's what wig of Moor is. And then represent justice, Jesus. See? So this is why even in your British Isles, where the Queen of England rules under the Spanish Inquisition, that you'll see the justices or the persons representing as judge, they'll wear a curly wig even to this day. And they're just. They represent justice, when actually we're Jesus that was lynched. Remember, we pulled down. This is where you see symbolically when they show The Birth of a Nation, that movie, that silent movie. You'll see them in Casablanca, and then they'll Casablanca, White House. White House, Casablanca. And then they tell the Moors, step down, or die. All right, now, for those of you who will notice just this last, Genesis 1, the fall of the Alhambra, they, and a lot of our people who really don't know the history all are mad. They shouldn't be mad, it's history. And you see them doing what they call blackface. Because that's a celebration of the fall of the Moors. Get over it. Respect the European right to celebrate he won a war. Kick your ass. Get over it. Get up. No, I'm just saying, don't get mad at him. Don't we celebrate Hannibal? Huh? Well, isn't Africa. Right? Don't we celebrate? Yeah, well, okay. Yeah.
It's Africa, right?
Well, you don't have, that's the whole point. We just, Wizard of Oz, they tell you that's what the lion is, Judah. Jay. Lost your heart, pumped out. So they made the straw man, closing the Freedmen's Bureau. Then they cribbed the industry. That's the rusty tin man. The yellow brick road is your zodiac constitution that you gave up. They just said, Dorothy, the matriarchy, you just bumped your head. You're home. Emerald City is your green star. It's Venus. It's symbolic. And the monkey, what? The monkey, negro yavirarego, the hybrid experiment. Charles Darwin, i.e. the European flying monkey. Wicked Witch of the West and all these. The house falls from the ethers, house of Zodiac. And she, under the house, right? And she got the silver slippers, which is the moon. But in the movie, they make it red slippers. Right? But the deal... Well,
Right.
yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to come up here and say that, too. Y'all got to help me. And Doc, too. Because I'm going to start pulling y'all up here. But anyway, it's not that they don't tell you. You need to know what you're looking at and not be offended. Embrace it. Own it. And grow up. And then observe and don't let... It's sort of like unum sanctum operations is what our people keep calling white supremacy. It's unum sanctum operations. So get over it. Now, once you understand and comprehend what it is, all you have to do is what? Turn the other cheek. What is the turn the other cheek? Take the thalamus in your mind. Activate your pineal gland. Turn the mirror around. That's called turning the other cheek. And whatever they cast at you, you give them their gift back. And then you don't have the karmic debt that goes with it. That's what turn the other cheek really means. This is why the priesthood, who knows what we're talking about right now, don't like Taji guy, including a lot of them grand sheiks who's dark side. Now that's the truth. And you all know who I'm talking about too. They hate Taji guy because I don't play with them. And I don't need the sashers. Because my mother made me. Thank you so very much. But anyway, that was not able. And Dr. Tamara, because you're the doctor now, because you've been producing for quite some time. Why don't you bring that up for me and tell us a little bit of stuff? Because I want you all to know that we're listening and everything. You know, they say, damn, Todd, you know shit. No. They be doing the work in the background. They just don't get the credit, as usual. Come on, man. Give you, yeah, like really?
Okay, well, Grant talked about the crystals. He spoke about Mardi Gras. So we had an event called 2020 Resolution Alignment Road to Self-Mastery. Crystal John was here, who was presenting about crystals. So what we're starting 2020 is the first class will be Crystal John presents the new Delaware Crystal Club. She has a crystal club in Philadelphia, and we're going to start a crystal club in Delaware. The first one is January the 25th at 2:30 to 6:30. It say come enjoy root chakra vegan stew along with a chair massage while we learn about root chakra and how to balance with crystals. So the Eventbrite is down there. It's also posted on the House of Reawakening Mind page, my page, Tamara L, and host the other pages that's been sharing.
Is it in the window for people who pass?
Well, it's going to go in the window. Yeah, it's going to go in the window. Okay, so we're going to learn about each month. It will be a different chakra of learning. The first one start at the base, which is the root chakra. So that'll be the first one.
25 for the whole thing, or is it 25 each time?
Each month. Each month. Yeah, so it's going to be a lot out of that. Okay, here we go. On the 5th Friday, we normally will be closed, but we're doing a message in the movie night. Watch and discuss the symbolism in the movie. Grant Sheehan already started, but he's going to go deeper and deeper into the knowledge of the Wiz. And this one is 10 notes. We're also going to have popcorn and other things that you can purchase. January the 31st, the movie will start at 7 p.m. So the Eventbrite page is on that message in the movie.eventbrite.com. You can also pay at the door. As you know, our seating is limited. We have 50 seats. This will not be live. We're going to record it and then we'll place it on our Patreon because we are also in the process of trying to build funds because we have a basement that needs repair. So the House of Reawakening Mind, so we're trying to take care of some much needed repairs at House of Reawakening Mind so we can keep the doors open. We also have the Sojourist class, starts March the 20th and 21st. March the 14th, and starts March the 14th. And that's a 10-week course. You can find that information on the Facebook, and that's with Brother Abdullah El Talib Mosey Bey and Brother Shem Malachi Bey. It's a 10-week course. I forgot to print that out. Sorry. On March the 20th and 21st, we have Moorish Summit, Moorish Science, and Dr. G's 65th Solar Return.
You enjoyed it?
And New Year's. That's right. It will be the New Year's. So, with that portal, it is hot in here. With that portal, it's a great time to celebrate. It's the new year. So we will be posting that event on Facebook page as well with the Eventbrite link. What else we have going on? Oh, we have some things coming up in February. We just got to put it out there. Brother Dave will have a heart health day at House of Reawakening Mind. What we learned at the resolution is that a lot of these events from American Red Cross are targeted because they are well aware that by the time February occurs, most Asiatic people are in heart distress.
Yes.
And it's funny because I experienced that about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that low iron deficiency could cause your heart to go off rhythm.
And zinc deficiency too.
I did not know that. I thought the cosmic mother was calling me home. And that's a scary feeling to wake up in the middle of the night, feel like somebody stabbed you in your heart.
But look at this.
Mm-hmm.
Back to what we're talking about. This is one of the reasons, and it seems innocent, this is very important. That's why the calendar is adjusted, not just for what you think it is, that you can't trace, but also to make you sick. Because your thoughts are not harmonic with nature, and you're off. See, because remember, dis-ease is dis-ease. Are we clear? So, comprehend that this is another reason why you must be aware. See, because now that you're aware of the variations, the vibrational shift, see, because it's about vibration too. Even like when Dr. Naila is doing Reiki, a lot of people's chakras are out of harmony because their thinking is out of harmony, and you never suspect it's the calendar work. You're looking at the physicality of the calendar and just simply the corruption from the concept of Rome wanting control, when actually they're changing your state of mind but getting you to do it to make you sick. And then they capitalize on you because they also know how the planets go in retrograde, which also affects you. Are we clear? So now if your salts are off, phosphates are off, right?
Right, because one thing that I learned was, well, I knew that from you about the salts, and I wasn't paying attention to my rhythm. And as women, that's one of the things we must pay attention to, is those deficiency months. So I was in my deficient month of salt because I'm an October birth. So this happened in December. So I should have been receiving that salt for that month. And I had not started taking the salt for that month. And that's when it hit. But one thing they didn't count on was for me to call my herbalist when I was laying on the ER. They were like, who's she calling? I'm calling my herbalist. You ain't giving me that mess. So, and I don't think I would be here because what they was trying to give me, he was like, well, it'll take months before you bounce back. I was like, no, babe, I'm bouncing back tomorrow. I got stuff to do.
Yeah, because they was going to keep you,
yeah.
And then they was going to what? Drug you.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you give you a multi-thousand fiat bill.
And I dragged myself out of there, did everything Master Dave, herbalist, told me to do, and that next day I was bounced back up. Yeah, so it's important as women. I know when I first met you, you talked about the salts, and I took that very seriously and got on that because I was suffering from migraines, and you helped in that process of the balance. And then you also was telling us about, as a woman, we also must track our menses to know which crescent we're on, so we'll know how to deal with the herbs that we need during that time. So I thank you for that.
And also, when you look at the moon movements, and when the moon's full, when it's waning, and you start ovulating, know that when that cycle comes. So you learn how to count the moon. You don't need no drugs. Exactly. You just need to know your body. Because once you start taking anything from Rome, you're killing the body.
Exactly.
That's right.
So
and
just wanted to share that with everyone. It's very vital that we go back to that. So when people say
yourself,
exactly,
to nature. Go back to the circle, i.e. the church. Church important. Not a negative, just people ain't been going to it. See, that's the offer. The offer, come to the church. Come on down. And they bring their children.
Yeah,
you don't know they're sacrificing them, but it's a long-term sacrifice. Because they think they're delivering them to the Lord. Well, they are. Just ain't the one that they think.
Yeah, because it's amazing because I battle with that, especially with the migraines for like I had migraines for like 24 days out of the month. That's debilitating. Like it was horrible.
Yeah, you should take a half a teaspoon of paper cord.
I do. You turned me on to that. Well, actually, you gave me the first one. You brought me the egg. I won't tell her because she'll be jealous.
No, I got one too.
Oh, you got one too?
I'm a jealous one over here.
Yes, I got my paper koi. Last year, that was his gift, our paper koi, our herbs in there. Let me tell you, that stuff works. It bounces you back. It really do. So,
Are you saying paper koi?
paper koi. Like my
Paper
migraines
cord. What do
are
you mean?
now
Like you don't know?
probably
You have
out
paper cord?
1 or 2 days out of the month.
You have paper cord?
You gave it to me already as well?
That's that very rich, high-grade honey
syrup?
from Manchuria
Yes.
with the 17 herbs in it.
Yes.
Right. Oh yeah, I'm part of the club. You're right, and it's delicious.
I'll bring you
It's
some when it
delicious.
comes next
It's
time.
salty.
Yeah.
You have people online there. How do you spell that? Right.
Well, I would say this one.
P-A-I.
You got to write that down.
Oh, all right.
I'm just going to say this for one of the things that they prescribed, I don't say prescribed, was blackstrap molasses. And I was shocked. So really, and then when I started, just Googling about the information, they say that blackstrap molasses is like a superfood, especially for vegans, because it would give us that iron that we need from, the heme iron. So I thought that'd be a great thing to share, to just go to the grocery store and get you some blackstrap molasses. It's delicious. It tastes like syrup.
You're funny.
I take it every morning now. A tablespoon. One tablespoon in the
Taking it
morning.
for months now.
What's that?
That's hilarious.
Paper cord.
Right.
Oh,
Paper cord, I know.
And then back up, you shoot as a chaser.
you in the club.
I know, right?
In the paper
Your
cup.
brother?
I'm enjoying what I hear.
Mike, you need a mic?
Oh.
I just want to jump down.
I really enjoying what I'm hearing, my thing was about the energy and about seeking. My question was pertaining to energy and
Give
seeking.
me the mic, because, yeah.
My question was pertaining to, about the energy and the seeking. I heard you say about seeking, right? I've been in the Christianity faith for umpteen years, but I have a different understanding or this different concept of what they're doing. And when I was, like you was talking about the women, years ago I used to say if our women would turn truth, that our world would be better.
Because that's it.
I was telling people that years
Because
ago.
that is it.
And they were like looking at me strange.
They're not looking at you strange, they're looking at you messing up the system. It's sort of like a con artist who, when somebody wake up, here we're going, doing the card thing, the shell game and everybody. Then take everybody's finance and stuff, right? Yeah. Then somebody come up, they playing dumb, right? And then I take this stuff, right? They got this. I'm putting it all down, my house and everything. I put mine down, then take my shit. Now I'm leaving town, gotta find another spot. Oh, he was acting strange. No, you caught on. Somebody, let me say this to you. When you, and we're talking you plural, start waking up inside, your aura changes. Even if you're not what you call totally cognate. But a dark priest already knows the rules. He will recognize you. That's the strangeness. Because now you're a threat. So you be thinking, they ain't kind of funny. No. They need to get you away from these rest of these people so you don't bleed off on them. See, because the energy is like this. Nature works like this. The same way osmosis works with a plant. on the layer plane, if someone, even if they're not in their mind thinking cognitively of where they are, you come in with a higher vibration where you're threatening to walk the plane or move in degrees or go into a higher plane. Dark priesthood recognize you when you walk in the door. And you be wondering why they backing up with you. The real they don't want you there. Because you bleed off. Because you race, see, you go in the area, meaning like you can go to church, mosque, synagogue, temple, doesn't matter, and you have a higher vibration because of what you know, you don't even need to speak. You go in that energy, and them demons feel you soon as you walk in. They don't like you. That's what it's like going to, like somebody invites you to the party, right? And then, you're going to bring, the gift like everybody else and stuff. And then you go to the party. Man, it's dark in here. Where's the cake and everything? You start pulling out the matches. Everybody says, no. Man, they don't want you to be lighting the candles on the cake. You thought you doing a favor to all the lighter ain't working. And then you just smack that up your head. Why you do that? That's what it is. Dark don't like the light. Even though they've been faking to be the angels of the light. So they're acting strange. You went there talking about women. If all women would get this, and if all women straighten up, overnight, and we be thinking about, as men, a lot of us be thinking, how men talk with each other, but they don't talk open, because of our pride and a whole bunch of other stuff. But most men, for the few who are honest, that's a problem we have with our women. I know a lot of men, when they're honest, will say, "Dag, man, if we only had the support of our women, how fast, and you can't say that to them because they'll take it wrong. Think that you want to go get some European or somebody like when actually you're running from them because they're under the control of Rome. And they do stuff to you because they think that you gotta be within the Lord in what they think it is, and you already know it's bullshit. But you gotta go along the program to get along with her, but at the same time there's a vibration that makes you sick. You love her, but she also makes you sick. Because she will sacrifice you to Rome. Meaning well, thinking that she's serving Jesus. And if you start showing energy of rejection, you get ready to get some bad treatment. Now, Rome knows that he's controlling our woman. And as long as he got our women, he got us. And he got the nation. When our women wake up and get back to themselves, game over. But that's also for us, those of us that's full of shit too. So a lot of us, don't want that to happen either because we under that bullshit too. Don't excuse my language either.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I just want to finish off this.
So I'm just telling you, this is what I'm saying to you.
Yes, sir.
Really what I'm trying to say to you, don't think that they don't know just because nobody talks. That's all I'm saying. Don't think that they don't know because no one talks. Or that it's just a discomfort from the angle that you're coming from. What it is a bunch of con artists that's in a network that's around this planet that when you get to a certain vibrational level, they know that you're getting ready to wake up, and their job is to put that flame out. They can play dumb, they can use the guilt trip, you're losing faith, those kind of things, or you're falling away from the church, you're losing faith, you're getting out of, like Dr. G said, you're getting out of the box type thing. And you be thinking that they're honorably trying to keep you within the Lord. No, they're trying to keep you in the dark. I just want to remind you, so when you see that energy, know the more that any of us stop making excuses for people thinking that they don't know because they don't have these kind of conversations, and you think they just happen to not quite understand, they know exactly what they're doing. One of the arts in the art of war that they're trained is to pretend that they don't know. This is why usually when you start a little bit of wake up, they immediately start using the guilt trip to put you back into the box. And you think that, well, he didn't understand. He's just trying to get me back to the Lord and everything because I'm slipping. You ain't slipping. You waking. Yeah. You understand? You're waking. And that's across the board. Are we clear? So don't think that because the different clubs, that one's better than the other, some are less contaminated, but they've all been contaminated. Are we clear? And they all need to be cleaned up. And the best way to clean it up is to sweep the damn floor and start over again. Are we clear? But with the truth that will be under it anyway. You know how you pull up that old linoleum? I hate that old wooden floor, but I gotta pull this linoleum because it's just really, it ain't working. Then you pull it up, you see how beautiful that floor was underneath. And you just sand it and put some nice clear on it. This was it. Same thing. Truth was already there. We just been hidden beyond the bullshit. And they make you think that it's out there somewhere in the heavens and they're the bringers of it. They ain't bringing you crap. You know, it's sort of like the transits of the sun. You know, what you need to do, you need to buy the bishop a plane so he can take the word of Jesus over on the other side. You know, the earth turns, the sun's coming. Jesus is coming all around. So you ain't got to go nowhere. Just stand still and hear. If you understand this stuff, the time for the con artist is to go. So because you've got to be cleaned up so that you can help clean the planet. Because we got a lot of rebuilding to do, institutionally and the physical earth. Because we're tied together. And as you dump the priesthood, the healing begins. It's not some mystery thing that comes from anywhere. It's you cleaning up. Learning to love instead of hate. But it does not mean naive, accepting BS. So, turn the other cheek and say, well, when he comes along, you just go turn the other cheek. No, you ain't getting that off. No, it ain't that. It's learning to turn the mirror of the thalamus. All right, so, and then you get stronger, and that's why we always say, don't let anybody put their spirit on you. And it don't mean they won't test you. And we all are in this physicality prone to that. Learn to control your emotions. They're there, so just get over it. Don't let them get it off. And you see yourself going there, don't let them get that off. And then after a while, then nature will make you aware. And you just turn the mirror in the thalamus. And while they're shooting them psychic attacks at you, it's bouncing right back on them. Then you don't have the karmic debt. I'm telling you, that is Jesus turning the other cheek. That's what that really means. It doesn't mean what they've been telling people. They smack Jesus around, he's take it. Go ahead, smack me again type thing. I can take it. No, don't mean that. Right there. Now, to exercise, to remind you, and then once you understand it, you don't need the exercise. You can take oil and rub here, and anoint your head with oil to stimulate that until you don't need the exercise anymore. All you need to do is think. when they start their stuff, let them think they're getting it off, and you mind your business, and throw it back at them. And if they're really mean, you try not to, because you don't want them hurt, just like you don't want to be hurt.
Right.
But if they're really mean and really want to hurt you, then they're asking for it because they really want to get it. But it'll be them, not you. But when you turn the thalamus, you didn't do it to them, they did it to them. So you just give them the gift that keeps on giving. Yeah, you don't get mad, you get even. That's what the priesthood also don't want you to find out about you. But don't never misuse it, because it'll still come back to you. Because nature ain't allowing you to get that off. That's why you gotta always goodwill, good intentions, always. Go ahead, good brother.
It's my brother. That's another reason why, the priesthood and the whole system are coming at our youth. Because they are just like, they hide everything right in front of your face, man. The things they do to you.
It's called deception.
Yeah.
See, now the reason they deceive you, and this is the misuse of anthropomorphic or anthropomorphism. It's not wrong. It's being used by the priesthood to enslave humanity because they know the rules of nature. You understand what I'm saying to you? So, and Dr. Naila, y'all really need to look at that thing that she did yesterday. You really do. Because I'm going back over there. I was going home. I ain't going home. I'm going right back over there and say, Doc, tell me on the phone again so I can you get it on the TV? That's why I asked her, because those who know her, she's deep, but she's humble, which makes it even more beautiful. Yeah. Because she's so humble. It's sort of like she's strong, authoritative, and humble all at the same time.
Reminds me of
you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And when she's really strong is just when she just lets it loose. When she doesn't try to think it out, she just be who she is. Yeah. And just start letting it roll. That's when it comes. And she be hitting it.
Right.
Now she always hits it, but y'all really gotta see this thing that she did yesterday. You really appreciate it. She's really, I'm grateful to know her. I'm grateful to know her because it's like, I personally don't have too many people I can talk to. I talk to a lot of people, but very few people that is insightful enough that I can really sit back and enjoy and learn from. She's one. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that because that's my sister, it's my girl, it's because who she is. She's just one of them rare jewels that are around. You know what I mean? She is. And I'm appreciating it, but it's sort of like, I shouldn't be maybe putting her on the spot, but share her. You know what I mean? She's on, like really on. You'll know when you look at it. And she's so down to earth. That's what makes it so cool. Just like somebody said, pick up these glasses and put it over there. And you're saying, well, that's all she said, but when you think again, it's profound.
Said she's a boss.
Huh?
Said she's a boss.
She's all that in a bag of chips.
I'm here.
Anyway.
I'm still here.
Yeah. And that's true. And I'm being honest. I'm not saying that because she's, my sister. And that's, I really love her. She's just so for real. And it's just that you don't see too many people, you don't meet too many people in life that are as comfortable with themselves. The good, the bad, the in-between, she's just so real. Do you understand? And she's strong. But yet she's so modest and profound. She's cool. You would like,
Okay, can I share a poem then or something?
go, give the mic. Give the mic.
This I just thought of this chair when you were talking, just because of what you said about the sisters.
You gotta go front, you can't do it.
Yeah, and it's true, because we need that, you know, because as a matter of fact, even the conversation that we had, myself and you and Ali, you know, because that's been one of the frustrating things that many of us as men suffer from, but don't really talk about. You know, and it's sort of like you can't make them give Rome up, because they believe in Rome. But you're sacrificed when you make them. That's the problem. They cut your hair off. No, it's the Samson and Delilah thing. But a lot of them don't know that that's what they're doing to you. And then when you run, they think you're attracted to other women, and the real deal, you're running from them. But you don't say it, and no one wants to discuss it. No one wants to be honest with what's really going on with us. They'll talk about finance, they'll talk about other things, they'll talk about cheating, running around, a whole bunch of, and it really ain't even that. Many of us as males who don't want to talk have been caught in a cycle of running, looking for the elusive butterfly of love, and not finding her. And don't want to talk about it, because we're proud. So we cry alone. And then come out and do this type of thing. Do you understand? No, it's the truth. And because of ego, what really needs to be discussed is not really being discussed, and then we're taken wrong. And we allow that to be. Allow them to think it's something that it really isn't. Because we're too proud to talk about our vulnerabilities. Do you understand? Well, anyway, good God. Can you come up here, please? Because your hair is springing too. Okay.
No,
you gotta do one of them things.
Thank you, Sister Tanya. No, I just wanted to share this. I think the last time when Sister Cameron and I, when we did Impress Us, I read this poem, God Wasn't Always.
Oh, yes.
And it just, I thought about it when the brother said,
That's a great one.
I wrote this a minute ago. It's gonna be in my next book.
You always tell me.
I'm good.
Just relax.
And this is to sisters. It's called God Wasn't Always. Some of you've heard it. It says, sisters, when have we become so obsessed with outward beauty that we now neglect our inward duty to manifest love, peace, and kindness, to birth redemption and remove perpetual blindness that cruelly separates us from each other? So I mean, sisters, how did this become the job of another? Real talk. It's time to claim our place as the mother and show the world God wasn't always a brother. But since I had the mic and look, I'm looking for something else. No, okay. Since I have the mic and since it's on, isn't it? Okay, since I had the mic. And some of you may have heard this, last year, but he did all this talking about me. So can I reciprocate with what I wrote about him? Yeah, come on. Don't you think it deserves that?
Yes.
This was a tribute for his solar return last year. Some of you heard it. Who heard it?
I was here.
Okay, so it's only two of you putting your hands up, and there's a bunch of you here tonight. There's a bunch of them. Okay, it says, this man we know as Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik Bey. Of his legacy and contributions, what can I say? Tremendously talented, tremendously talented, so gentle and kind. His wealth of wisdom stimulates your mind. Will you agree? A teacher, builder, and furniture maker, a poet, singer, writer, artist, dancer, tailor, and chef. Oh, and an auto body mechanic. Is there anything left? A pure Renaissance man, Grand Sheikh Taj Tarik Bey. When he's gone off the scene, what will history books say? Wow. That he exposed the deeds of the wicked oligarchy as part of his mission to set the captive Moors free. He consistently warned about Rex 84's deep state plan to extinguish all Moors. He opened our eyes to birth certificate, marriage license, and mortgage fraud. For his passion and fortitude, he earned summa cum laude. He taught sleeping Moors about the bondages they were under. He dispensed straight knowledge so there was never need to wonder. Ahead of his time, yet never out of sync, his profound oratory skills surely made you think. And make you think. In spite of opposition from Moors just like him, he continued to teach truth so even his naysayers could win. What a priceless treasure we have in this man. Let us not take for granted the burden of demand. So let's give him the honor he deserves on this day. Our master teacher and way shower, Grand Sheik Taj Tarik Bey.
Peanut butter sandwiches. But, you know, and I have this to say, you know, with all, you know, and I appreciate that, but, you know, a lot of shortcomings, a lot of work to do. Oh, remember I showed you?
Me?
Yeah. That when I was over there and the mark came, it whitened out. And it's just starting. I was scrubbing, and it just started to fade. It's still there, but it's like white. It's like a laser burn.
Right.
Never, you know, because I discovered it because it itched. You know, and it just started to fade out all this time.
Wow.
It's still there though. It's
People are saying, what did he show her?
Right.
That it itched. He sent me a picture of a spot. something that came up like it was, you know, people who have, I want to call it otherworldly visitations sometimes end up with marks that are unexplainable. And he has a mark that showed up that looks like a perfect glyph.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the earth glyph.
And like the earth glyph appeared on his leg. So, you know, he shot a picture of it. And it wasn't something it wasn't a scar or whatever. It was like it was
perfectly burned
and blazoned in his skin,
like,
and it just
like
appeared.
laser. But I woke up and it wasn't, the upper part wasn't complete, but everything was there. It's still there now. And I was trying to scrub it off and everything. And we were talking, because usually, you know, I don't talk. You know.
When you don't talk, when don't you
Huh?
talk? She said you don't talk. I said, when don't you talk?
Well, you know, because it stopped when I was around 14.
Oh,
When I used to
you
turn
said
over.
you don't talk about those types
Yeah.
of occurrences. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And because the conversation was in, that's why I shared it with you, because I was conscious, although I was sleeping, I was trying to figure out how they got to me. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And then I was trying to rationalize somewhere else how I got there when I knew better, truthfully. So I was just sharing that with you. So it's there. No, it's there. It's like, you know, like a burn, when a burn heals and then your skin turns white. But it's very, very fine and it's perfect. Fine, it's perfect. It's perfect earth glyph, even with all the gates, all perfect, totally perfect. You know, that's why I sent you the picture. You know, and it's just starting to fade out. I was scrubbing it, it wouldn't come off. But anyway.
How long did you have it, How long did you have it?
Well, usually like on a night like this, like I was staying with Dr. Niles, and I woke up like early in the morning around 3 or 4:30, and I was scratching my leg. Right? And so I got up and I went to the bathroom, washed my face and everything. And I didn't notice. Then when I got up in the morning, I saw it. And I said, damn, they got me.
They got you at my house.
Right? You know,
All the crystals around.
and
Oh no.
I used to have the experiences when I was like 12, 13, 14, and you know, it stopped then, except a couple of times, but in between,
I had two.
they kind of slowed down.
A young girl, and my father was involved.
Yeah.
Because we saw 3 blue lights where I saw
Yeah, you sent me pictures, didn't you?
I had just
And
recently.
I usually don't talk about it because people want you to go into stuff, and I don't like to go into things unless I can do the tracers.
Okay.
Because when I was last time about 13, 14, and then I used to turn on my stomach so that they wouldn't come, right? Because what would happen is that the ceiling would open up. You know, like when you pour milk in coffee and you see it like this, that spread out. That's how the ceiling would open up. And then I'd go straight up, almost like on like this, like on a gurney type thing. And I couldn't turn my head, and I couldn't breathe. Like something was standing on my chest. And I couldn't see around me, but I could see these gray blocks, squares, and they were going up and down, around, and I could see some of the stars, and then after a while just drop right back in the bed like a sack of potatoes.
Were you
It didn't
astral
hurt.
projecting? Were you astral projecting?
Huh?
Were you astral projecting? Is that what you're doing?
Well, I wasn't thinking about it that way. I didn't like it. You know what I mean? But I was conscious, but I could never see any faces or anybody. I just saw these blocks. And they were like light gray and darker gray, something like this on that mirror, like that, those colors.
Yeah.
And they were like floating, and I was like, I would go up, but not, it would appear like the stratosphere, but not quite there.
Yeah.
And I could see like a halo like the earth type thing without seeing it directly, but knowing it's there.
Yeah.
But it was not like a long period. It was like, you know, and it would always around 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, you know, because my room was on the 3rd floor, you know, and the same exact thing, But the deal of it is every time I came back, I was like a whole bunch of jumbled thoughts. Now I used to write poetry since I was like 7 1/2. And it was like knowing things and not knowing what you know. And then trying to analyze, and you can't analyze, but you know that you know stuff. You understand what I'm saying to you?
I understand.
And then after a while, I figured out whatever it is, they ain't trying to eat me because they would have done it already. No, I'm serious. You know, when you're young, you know, I mean, really. You know, because first I used to be scared of it. You know, and then after a while,
I never was scared.
figured, well, I keep coming back, so whatever. And then I would always go through life, my early life, trying to do what I called tracers.
Okay.
That was my consciousness in myself. Tracers is followbacks.
Never forget.
You know, and very often what would happen is that this little blue dot, you know, like you have floats in your eyes? I see this cobalt blue dot like floating in my eye. And then, you know, you try to follow it, and then poof, like that. That's when it happens. So I used to do like this, and I used to turn my belly. I stopped that shit. And it never happened again that I can recall immediately, except a couple times when my mother visited me. And my sisters, I put an addition on my sister's house. And I was in, this is kind of embarrassing, but it ain't, whatever. I was on the toilet reading the newspaper. The blue dot, and, so it's like this. And before, I'm catching it, and I'm thinking, I'm trying to clear, how like you're trying to clear it, make sure it's not in your eye. And totally conscious, fell on the floor. Wow. Like you want in a cotton ball. Seriously. Like in slow motion and fell right on. Now I'm embarrassed and I'm hoping nobody comes in the bathroom. Right. Then here we go again. Ceiling open up. Wow. And on the back, there's a railroad that goes across the back about 400 feet, because there's a big part where my sister's house was on Dewis Avenue in Pensacola. And then I started moving quickly, going across the railroad. I was looking at the trains and stuff. Then again, here we go. And everything passes real fast, like you're really speeding. And I could see the water. You could see the different colors of the water, the depths, everything. Wow. And then before I knew it, then I was over north part of Asia Minor, what we call Africa. And then the darts came. The darts are like, like little pins, lights. They don't hurt, but they're like this. And then I came back. And then got up, looked around. Then I went in the room, came back, I got paper, I got a pad, pencils, and everything, and I started writing again, And I was thinking too fast. I couldn't think, I couldn't keep up, I couldn't write, so I didn't want my sister Shakira to see me, in the state of mind I'm in, right? Because I'm hyped now, right? And my mind is really like running. So I goes in one of my cars, and I go to Pensacola Mart, I go buy a boom box, and I grab a whole bunch of tapes. And I come back, go in the basement, and I'm just putting tapes in, and so I talk, because I can't write as fast as I'm thinking. And then I also didn't want to contaminate it. Because if you think hard, you know how it happens, you contaminate it. Because I'm trying to judge. Because I'm trying to analyze. So I just talk in it. And that's when I wrote one of my first books, More is the Uniting of a Nation. That's the one I gave to the Grand Chief that they lost conveniently on Liberty Street. After that, I went to City Hall and I remember a European that dealt with this housing stuff named Bernie Herman. And I went in there because I just nationalized, right? And I went in there and I said, I want some houses. And there was a bunch of people up in the office. Carol was downstairs. She sent me upstairs. I went up there. I said, I want to get some houses, for the auction. Right? And he looked at me. He says, wait a minute. He says, go in that room over there. I'll talk with you later. He was talking with other people. So when I came in there, he didn't say anything else to me. He just brought out a couple of books and opened the books and put them in front of me. He says, right, tell me what you want. And that's when I got 13 buildings, including one on 6th and Spruce Street. This is when they was redoing Cooper Hospital in Camden. And all the properties, people who come from New York and different areas, developers, shells, junk houses was going for 80 and 90 grand. I got all 13 for 2,200. All 13 buildings for 2,200. And I packaged everything. And even when another time when I went, this is another story, when I went and got the building for the round table. But anyway, I brought that back, and then I was going after the theater on Westfield Avenue, Westmont Theater that was closing. They accused me of trying to take over the temple.
You do what now?
Huh? The Grand Chief stuff. And then they ran my sisters out. And so now I founded the round table.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, oh yeah. It was, yeah. Anyway, the point of it was, and then conveniently lost the whole package. They was collecting for bus fund, transportation fund. So I went out on Route 73 on the weekend, and I went and got a bus, and I was going to, compensate myself. And I was getting that for like $2,000, and that was like they $25,000. They wanted, to use buses. They got mad at me again. They used to do stuff. Oh yes, that's why I left the temple. Mainly after they ran my sisters out, because they couldn't attack me, I was too strong. So they attacked my sisters. But anyway, I don't want to go into that. But that was like the last time. And the time when I was on the tour. But and then I'm not scared anymore. But when I was over Doc's house, what's that, last month, right?
Yeah.
Last month. Woke up, I was scratching my leg, so I wasn't paying attention to it. Because I go in downstairs, and do my bath thing. Damn, they got me again. And then I'm trying to make it be something else, when deep inside I already know what it is. Earthglyph. It was Earthglyph, right? So then the other thing why I always lock out is because I already know the competition that's going on too. Because some of them will try to put you in a position of offer, make you feel important when they're really trying to use you.
True that.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you? That's another reason I lock out. You know what I mean? And so that's what that was. But then I was analyzing and couldn't do a tracer. And I think part of it was because I've been locking out for so long, since I was young, that in some areas I lost the ability to trace. Because I didn't want to. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Mm-hmm. But at the same time, some things are allowed through. Because you get in this battle, you're trying to make sure that the contacts are not on the negative. Because you already know some of those energies are Draco order. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to avoid. So, and then you never want to at any time mix your ego in it, because they feed on that. You know what I mean? So what I always try to do is try to trace whatever's positive and use that and leave the rest. You know what I mean? So I was talking to Dee. I didn't tell her about it, but then she brought up some things, and then that made me know what the marking was. I didn't communicate with her. This is our conversation, because that's how things come through. It'll come through someone else to affirm, and then you start picking up, and then the imprint opens up, or and that's another reason I'm doing this class tonight too. This is boring. I don't want to go here.
It's not.
It's connection. It's connection. That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
I used to pastor in 1996.
Yeah. Give him the mic. Because this is also, we're going to be sharing sometime when Doc's going to do some things in the future. But go ahead.
I used to pastor back in 1996. Mm-hmm. And my grandfather, he was considered the head bishop of Apostolic Holiness Church on the East Coast. And they made me pastor and named a church at that time was St. Mary's. And the bad part about it is that what you're saying is that all the stuff that I knew, now I didn't read it, but I knew when I opened up the Bible, I was telling people how that the so-called baptism been on the unemployment line for such a long time, and the new baptism is the knowledge to know thyself. And they was talking about the Lord's Supper, and I was telling them that mind, seed, grape juice was not the thing. It's about knowledge and power to know thyself, because all these gifts that you have on the inside, all the power that you have on the inside, and you don't know, and you're allowing people to misuse you and abuse you, and they shut me down.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And this is, that's good, because that kind of reminds me of some of the things that she was doing. Said, doctor, I'm telling you, go look at her Facebook thing.
Shut me down.
You know, because all of these things are coordinated. But I mean, you already know that's going to be happening now. You know, and I know that's going to be happening now. But the point that I'm making is that more effort must be moved without bitterness, to move the priesthood off the people's backs, because they've been holding humanity up for so long, because it's time for humanity to flower. And they're angry, and they're putting out extra effort to shut everyone down. And people need to be aware of that. Awareness of it alone is a reflector, meaning that it is part of the immune necessity operation in nature. Just you knowing, meaning that nature kind of works like this. Once you know the vampire's a vampire, and the vampire knows you know he's a vampire, he loses power. He will continue to try to veil or put another mask on. He's run out of masks. So that's how they, you know, but the people themselves, not because you say so, not because I say so, they themselves must render that back to Caesar and his familiars. But they have to recognize the familiars, because right now they think the familiars are men of the divine order of what they think God is, when actually they are all, except for a very few, all of them are dark side. All of them are dark side. My position is it's safe to dump them all. And let nature give you, let your mom give you what's there, because she will. You know, but the deal of it is, it's really already in you. We just got to get out of looking out for it. That's all. And it's sort of like, once you move them out of the way, the sun will bud the seed that's already in you, that you have been told is outside of you. And while there's a cognizance in you trying to analyze this, that's just my position for me. I can't say this for everybody. Stop trying to figure it out. Just let it be. Because that's what it's going to be. And it's not a disrespect for it, is because you have to recognize that some values that we have on the third dimensional energy is not operative on other levels. And we try to take them there. For instance, like how we think of and use money. We don't use it there like that. The energy that's around it is not even like that. And so we often try to measure or trace with some of the values that we have here, because we're clinging to this. Not that, but it's not bad. This, you know, let's not look at this as bad. You know, when the priesthood try to make you, oh, you're in the world, not of the world type thing, don't disrespect this. There's a harmonic balance that must take place. But at the same time, don't take the selfish value when relate when you're going to another level or another plane vibration. And don't try to judge, observe. Just observe. You know, and know already, because this is one of the problems that I've always had with me, trying to overanalyze it. Stop trying to do that. Just let it be. And when it will unfold later. Because this is what I recognize, and I'm not saying this for everybody. When the transits are made, it is for you to bring something from that dimension to here. Your job is to analyze and to share it without your ego in it, or without a selfish intent. And 9 times out of 10 is something so simple that even a child can understand it. We usually make it we usually overread it or try to make it be something that is not based on the way we've been trained. That's where the contamination comes in. Don't allow that, and this stuff will just kind of like work itself out. But the problem that we have, because there's so much dirt done here, is that there's going to be a lot of heavy sweeping. And the heavy sweeping is going to be uncomfortable. But don't allow that necessarily to bother you so much to expect it. But don't look at it as failure. Look at it as necessity, because we've been held back so long, and because the dark priesthood has been so successful, that they have kind of what you would call shifted the timeline. That's another way of putting it. And that outside work has to be done to put things not totally in order, because most of it is required for us to do, but an interference to get it to a certain point so that we're able to handle it. But we still have to do the rest of the work. For whatever that means, that's what it is. Go ahead. Give him the mic.
Hello? I want to say something. I love that story. I can't believe, I think I'm blessed. When 99 people deployed to Germany, and you decided to start taking pictures and didn't get aboard, and I feel lucky that I can hear your voice. That was meant to be. Could you, what gift you heard something? Don't get on that plane. You the only one survive out of 99 people.
Oh, when the plane went down?
Yeah, but you wasn't on there. You was taking pictures. You
Oh,
been on there. You
what?
went AWOL.
No, this is what happened. Yeah, that was it.
So I'm lucky. That's what I take it.
Fort Ord, California. We was headquarters company. Went to the airport and sit there watching planes go up and down, stuff like that. And someone said behind me, "Get up, leave." So I he wasn't talking to me, type thing. And get up now, leave. So I'm looking, trying to see who they're talking to, and there wasn't nobody back there. Right? So now I'm turning back around because I don't look stupid. It says get up, leave. So I reached in my duffel bag. I had a Yashica A twin reflex camera. I got some civvies out. I went to the bathroom. Came back out because I'm now thinking, I can't do this because I'm going AWOL, right? But I got my ammo, right? So came back out. Everybody going. They didn't board the plane, right? I guess they took my duffel bag too because everything was gone. I went to Carmel, started taking pictures. Went down Joe's Point, taking pictures of the seals and stuff like that. Seals rock at Joe's Point. The water's so clear, you could see down the bottom. It's couple hundred feet deep, really. And it's clear, right? And I noticed the rolling hills were clover and these red beautiful flowers was real croppy, real low. It was so beautiful. So I went bowling too. Then I went bowling. Yeah. And I went back to headquarters company because now I got to get a new MO because now I'm AWOL too, right? Now I used to get in fights too. So I'm gonna tell you, like, because I was like, take nothing type thing. So one of my friends named Garner, matter of fact, he was from Pennsauken, but he was in HQ company too. And I'm coming down the street and everything. And I used to catch these lizards too. They have lizards out there. So, and I'm walking down, and he's looking at me like, we thought you was dead. What y'all talking about? You know, like, what you talking about? This like thing, right? So what occurred was, now this is late in the evening, you know. The plane crashed on Gene Autry's ranch. You know, Gene Autry used to do the movies. And all 98 died, and I was the only one. Right? And yeah, that's what that was all about. But that's not the first time stuff like that occurred. So I'm kind of used to that in some ways. But that's what that was all about. Yeah. Communications are, it's according to where you are, you know, in your mental, in your vibration. Now, I had, to be honest with you, during that time, to be honest with you, I had already in my mind, my own mind, planned to leave at 35, age 35. But I had other stuff to do, but I didn't know what I had to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? Which is much to do why I do what I do now, with the energy that I use it with. As long as I feel like it. And when I get tired or bored, I'm leaving. You know, but the other deal of it is, because that ain't really the first time in that type of situation. But also, when you have a certain level of understanding, you don't fear death. Because you don't look at it like other people look at it. Or like they tell people to look at it. Do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And another time when I was with my friend Butch, we went to pick up his mother down what they call the Dewdrop Inn in Lawnside type thing. And he liked cars, we like cars, and he was restoring this old Buick, 53 Buick, nice, beautiful car. He was restoring it, collecting old cars and stuff like that. And on White Horse Pike, where they had, which is now Depot now, used to be called Two Guys or something like that. And I said, Butch, go. So we came up the highway, and I said, go on that road behind Two Guys. Don't go on White Horse Pike. And he said, I don't want to go back there because it's all dark. And I said, well, go back there anyway. You know, and so he said, nah, I'm going down White Horse Pike. So we go down White Horse Pike, because they're parallel. They're parallel. And sure enough, this car is speeding down, coming down White Horse Pike. And it's like, you know, like really like towards morning, towards like the 12, 1 o'clock area. And smashes right into us. Now, you know those old cars got frames. Yeah. They hit us so hard that the car went like in an accordion. Like when the middle of the car, the wheels come together, right? But now, when we got in the car, I was telling his mom, get in the middle. She said, no, that's all right, I'm tired. You just move over. You know, so I was in between Butch and his mom. But when the car was coming, you know, like you hit that, like that block in your ears, you know, like type thing. Yeah, and so I did like this to shield them. He got wrapped up in the steering wheel, broken arm, ribs, leg. She got broken ribs, legs, and everything. The only thing I got was this little scar that's still here. Wow. Right. I remember they took us to Lady Lord South. I wasn't even getting the ambulance and stuff like that. And it was like, what the hell? You know, because I wasn't injured, you know. And they was all messed up. So stuff like that I'm used to. You know, but I don't feed on that, but I also understand it internally. You know what I mean? So what I decided to do was to make some kind of use of my life. Which is why I do what I do.
You had a job to do.
Yeah.
It's not ordinary.
It's an assignment, that's all.
You still have a job.
It's an assignment.
A great job to do.
I accepted the assignment. Because I was really ducking it. Because I knew when I was a child, truthfully. You really know. But I wanted to be a part. Because I knew really, you know how you really know? Because you know if you really go there and just really be yourself, you'll be totally separate. Because people won't understand you. And I didn't want that. I wanted to grow up and have a wife and a house with a picket fence and all of these things, and already knew then because they told me not to marry. And I was going to do what I wanted to do. Well, that's the truth. I'm just being honest with you. And then do it, then it's taken from you. And you put right back to what you got to do. Now you just get used to it. It's what it is. Now that's my personal battle. You know that orientation. You come here and you want to participate, and that's not what you're here for. Everybody is not here for the same thing.
That's right.
But we're also selfish. You understand what I'm saying to you? Mm-hmm. And so you have to overcome that. You know what I mean? You know, because I already know what I'm capable of in some other areas. You know, so I wanted a big mansion, but I could build it. I don't need nobody to give me a damn thing. That's right. You understand what I'm saying to you? I wouldn't be happy. Mm-hmm. And I just had to get to the point of accepting that and simplifying my life and knowing that the battle was on. Because my battles were wrong. That's where my battle was with Rome. That's it. Get over it. And then you have to sever some parts of your relationships because they will attack people around you. So I already knew that too. So there's a certain part of loneliness in there. Not because you want to be alone, because they will attack the people around you if they can't get to you.
That's true.
So you do it to not for other people to be injured. That's another thing. So those are, but at the same time, you're never alone. And the danger is, for them, is the mess with you. We know that too. But it's what it is. But I could tell you a lot of stuff, but I don't like to go there necessarily because it gets boring. But once you the other thing, and like I was telling Doc, by me shutting off when I was 13 and a half, 14, I lost the capacity to do the tracers. But that was a willing thing because what I wanted to do. Because with the tracers, you do the tracers, then you know more. But then you know so much that you don't fit.
What is a tracer? I don't understand.
Tracer is, they're like thought streams. And this is if you want to know, you will know.
Where you shut down and you don't want to know.
Because then what happens, you don't fit. And I wanted to fit. I already knew I was up to lunch when I was young. No, but you understand what I'm saying to you? And first you discover it, like, for instance, when I was like them, people come around, you don't read them, you know them.
Absolutely.
Now, like as an example, my dad was a reader. This is why, we always read, because my dad was a reader. And one of my dad's friends, and this is not, this just as an example, Mr. Cooley used to come over, and I said, they used to be drinking and playing pinochle. And my cousin Pete and cousin Theodore, they used to come to the house on the weekend and get their haircut instead of going to the barbershop because they was family. And you didn't talk, unless adults told you to talk. And we had them big, tall doors that slide into the wall type thing. Yeah, pocket doors. Yeah, and I remember my dad, and my nickname was Butch. And my dad would call me Bouch. And he said, they was talking about the Bible all the time. The Reverend Brown, who had the church on 2nd and Main. And they're in there talking about Jesus and all this stuff. And Dad said, come in here, Butch. Right? So I came in and said, yes, Dad. And he's a very loving man, type man. And he says, tell them about Jesus. See, because I had a collection of books, Bible. I had about 13 or 14 Bibles in my own library. I even had a couple of Bibles with human skin. I had when King James was Prince James. I had Septuaginta. I had the Schofield Bible. In Schofield, they have Allah in it. It's a Bible book, got Allah in it. You understand? Now, what I already knew was, at a very young age, that the honors that they give to Jesus in the churches, they first gave it to Prince James. And so they take that out now, so that people don't see that it's actually they worshiping James. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're really Yahshua's enemy. They ain't his friend. It's flipped. But anyway, so I used to do, so I came in, because I already knew it was Yahshua ben Yusuf. And I already know Ruth was his grandmother. I already knew all that kind of stuff. So anyway, so Reverend Brown was saying, Dad, something wrong with that boy. What the hell do you know all this stuff, right? And stuff. And so he asked my mom, could I start doing Sunday school? Because the children wanted to play, And so he asked my mom, and he asked my dad, and then he asked me to do Sunday school. So it's right around the corner. We was on 2nd Estate, 141 State Street. That's where he used to come get me on the 3rd floor. That was telling about. But anyway, I used to go to school, and I'd do the lessons, and Miss Holman used to print them all for me on this barrel thing. Used to do the blue ink. Anyway, within a month, the children, we were packed down in the basement, and they had to get more chairs. So after a while, the adults wanted to see why these children was, all of a sudden, they wanted to come to church and learn. Anyway, it got so strong that Reverend Brown shut it down. Right? Oh, yeah. And that was one of my first lessons. At the time, I didn't understand it, from a child's perspective. Disappointed because we was all having fun and everything. But as I grew up, I understood that they were dealing with calling that spirit, and I was teaching the knowledge. It was two different things. And it was, it was, the church was upstairs, they hollering around across the stage and hallelujah to you type thing, and children down there learned that he was going home to their parents and becoming conflicted because they had knowledge. They already knew there was no J in Aramaic. I already knew that Yahshua's greeting was Assalamu alaikum Aramaic. So all this stuff I already knew when I was a baby, basically. But I didn't understand that it would be a conflict. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And I learned from a young age that these people don't want these people to know the truth. They don't. But that was one of my first experiences. Then I went from there with Cousin Mark and Cousin Ed to the Kingdom Hall out on Westfield Avenue. And within a few months, they had me prepared for the ministry. Same experience. Went from there. That's when after that, I went to the service. And after that, I came out. I went to the Nation of Islam. Within 6 months, I was assistant minister. And I recognized it, I saw a pattern over and over again. What they was doing, using me to shut me up. That's what they gave me position to shut me up. I had to catch on to that. You know what I mean? And of course, when I came into the More Science Temple, and I started seeing that same pattern, that's when I founded the Round Table. And that's what I've been doing ever since. Because I used to teach at my house, just normal, because I'm a barber too. And I learned just from experience, these people, in the name of sheiks, priests, reverends, 99% of them know the truth, won't tell, because it takes finance out their pockets. You understand what I'm saying to you? And you start telling the people the truth, it liberates them from everybody, including you, which is what's supposed to happen. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? They're supposed to graduate. They ain't supposed to stay in school. They're supposed to go about living their lives and help clean up this planet. That's basically what's supposed to be happening. This is again why we're doing this lesson. Because that is the church. Of course, we would go deeper into all of this, but that is earth culture. All religions on the planet Earth is rooted in this. All of them. Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, Christianity, Islam, Zoroastrianism, etc. The four Vedas, Uasti, the Urantia book, Septuaginta, Latin, and Hebrew, all of them. There you go. And the deal of it is to take it out of its anthropomorphic form. You don't reject that, it's for children. But once they get of age, like when she's like this, then you start telling them the truth. You start giving them the math of the universe. It's the math of the universe. And then the mothers is supposed to start teaching them about themselves, about really, really teaching them strong when she's about 8.5 before she's 9. And by the time she's 12, she's already prepared. You've already met with me, you, someone else, and already prepared your son or daughter in matrimony before they're 15, even though they're not together. It is done spiritually to the math, and it's a matrimony contract. And then in honor, the family brings what they call a dowry, and that is a chest, just like the old ark. And those were the best men carrying that chest. And then they bring it to the mother and the father as a gift, etc., of honor. You understand? Because you're taking from the family and you're blending families. And it would be based on mainly, not so much the sun as the moon, harmonics. Then the sun. People say the sun sign, yes, mainly the moon energy. And if it didn't harmonize, the matrimony was not sanctioned. It was not done on just being attractive. Oh, there, she's all that. You ain't tapping that.
That's right.
Because it's built on the laws of nature, so that the matrimony will be harmonic, and that the children that you create don't come here sick and cross-minded.
That's right. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Have the spell on.
Oh, yeah.
That's what's happening.
So that's another game of why the marriage certificate is a bank bond, because they're selling. It's really slavery. There's human trafficking. People think it's, I'm just getting married next month and shit. Going downtown, getting a birth and stuff, and they don't know that the priesthood is actually selling them, and they will never interfere with what you call cross-ups. They want cross-ups.
That's right. Keep them down.
Because they're going to make finance off them. The children come sick, they come cross-minded, scatterbrained, etc. Why? Because the mating was done from a mere carnal perspective, and not with a knowledge of the harmonics or lack thereof of the mates. You don't violate nature and don't pay a price for it. You don't go throw oil in water. You talk about, this is cool. Shake this stuff up. Well, it was cool for a minute, and then after a while, 2 minutes, stuff separates.
That's right.
This is where you get the fundamentals of earth and air, fire and water, first rule. Then you deal with the moon, which is the actual expression of the real being. And if it's not harmonic, you don't sanction the matrimony. Not because you don't want them to be happy, it's because it's violating nature. And so as soon as, the honeymoon's over for 2 weeks, they're fighting. You used to love being shit. No, they get bored because people don't know when they're not wrong. They don't belong together. See, what has happened is that the matrimony of nature was contaminated by the priesthood, who've taken the low energy of Mars and contaminating the 9 I and interjecting rage. That's what marriage is. That's why most marriages don't work. Because they're spell casts by the priesthood. And then they got a bond on it. It's matrimony, not marriage. Anyway, we're after 11.
You know what, Grant, I think you've been so candid at this, especially towards the end. A lot of the viewers, at least on the Facebook side, are commenting about how some of when you were talking about your experiences, a lot of them commented like, "Wow, me too. I've had those experiences," or they're saying that this is one of the best videos they see. I think it's because of this fireside chat. It kind of moved into sort of like a, because you really just kind of like you're talking with the children around the fireplace, and that's the reception. I don't know what's happening on YouTube.
I know I'm not crazy now.
See people.
I feel everything in this. I know I'm not crazy. Everything I feel, I think of him as a legitimate source. He definitely raised my spirits. It's a strange feeling. Most of us know something is wrong. We just don't know what it is. This is a beautiful thing. I definitely want to read what Tajiri Bey stated about you. I thought that was a beautiful statement. Boy, they getting me in on it. She said, "We are so grateful that you accepted the assignment, Grand Sheik. Indeed, the one who is sent must remain."
Wow. Oh, thank you. But we just the deal of it is that people need to not be afraid of themselves anymore.
Right.
And a lot of us don't find the tracers because we chose not to. Are we clear? The other thing is because what's happening right now, because not just because certain information is shared, but also because we have already gone. Let's put it this way: Gaia is closer to the center of the universe again, on the greater clock. And therefore, those things that will be washed away anyway. Problem is, because humanity has been in darkness for so many generations by the priesthood that they trusted, that they themselves have shut down their receptors. Do you understand? And so that they don't get washed out. Because there's a great sweeping that's taking place. And it's not just on this planet. Right? But there's still this mental in many of us that the dark romantic powers are still in power when some of them have been moved out of the way. And so, but then some of them who are left are fighting desperately, even though they know they're going to lose. Because they've gotten spoiled to the powers that they've had, the same way we've gotten spoiled to being subjugated. Are we clear? This is why I keep saying to people, trust yourselves. Don't even accept what I say. Prove me wrong and learn. Anyway. Go ahead, Doc.
One thing, last thing I'd like to say.
Give her the mic.
What I'd like to say to everyone here in this room and everyone listening via social media, Facebook and YouTube, that in the wake of what is going on internationally right now, my strong advice is to maintain your peace, to not feed into the energy that is trying again to suck up yours by putting in fear and so forth about what may be.
Yes.
Maintain your peace. If you do
observe.
nothing and observe, and like they say, when you get into a mindfulness state, they say observe it and let it pass by. But don't put your emotions and your energy to what is being broadcast over the media and in politics. Do not get involved in this. This is not your fight, and it's not. Yeah, you don't have no dog in this fight, and so do not give your energy to it.
Play.
Ain't your fight.
It's a good cop, bad cop play. Remember what I said before that Donald Trump is assigned? Because he is. However, they put some tags on him. Now the tags on him is the demon platform, which is the Democratic Party, of the Grand Protectors of the Constantine Order, which is you call KKK. That's what that really is. Now, not all ghouls are necessarily negative. That means not all of the members of the ghoul order of the KKK are negative. And although they're wearing your uniform to scare you with, because that's your stuff, among them was the opportunity for a lot of dark sides to be in. Are we clear? In other words, that platform was actually created for them to hide the corruptions of the planet. Are we clear? That's what that Democratic Party actually is for. That's what it was created for. You must be aware of that. Now, that's not to say the projection that you will see coming that will make people reject them altogether and then go to the Republican Party, which is also the flip coin of the demon platform. That's the tag. The deal of it is let's talk about, I'm not going to hold you up on this, but I'm going to give you something to think about. Because we've gone through the futon belt and Gaia is back close to the center of the universe again, the energy that exists in this Aquarian light, the occidental bodies that have been in use by some of the hybrid Moors, which you call European Romans, can't live in that light. So they're going to die out anyway. Which is also why they married that sister into the royal family. Because we know what's really going on. Do you understand? Because 7 cycles and they're out of here. But they're trying to do it in a way without looking like that's what they're doing. But that's over too. Now, the deal of it is, this is what they're doing. Let me tell you really what they're doing. They want to make you so miserable that the people will ask for Donald Trump to be king. I'm giving the projection. He's better than all of them wrapped together in a package. But don't let that impress you either. Oh, do you understand what I'm saying to you? None of them is worthy to rule over you. Are we clear? The rule of all of them is done. However, among them, Donald Trump is the best they got to offer. Are we clear? No. Like a lot of our people are mad at Donald Trump, but they're following a party line. Donald Trump is not a negative that they're trying to make him to be. From the principle of republic order and the ordinance of 1787, he's most harmonic with it than any of them. However, the motive of his operations is because they're trying to save themselves. Not necessarily because he's trying to restore the republic, although he is. But at the same time, they have already shown their hand. They've had enough time to rule to show their non-intent of good. Ain't mad at them. Time to get off the throne. Time for the heirs to take their places among the affairs of men. However, your job is to observe them, like Dr. Nyla says. Observe them, but understand that's a cosmic reflection. It is for you to observe. That's a cosmic replication on a lower level to show you what's happening on the ether side. It really is. I'm just telling you. Those who are trying to lynch Donald Trump is simply tying the rope on their own necks. So recognize that's what you're going to see coming. Everything that they tried to do to Donald Trump, they're doing to themselves. But don't look at that from the perspective that, therefore, he's the one type thing. No, it ain't exactly that either. But I'm telling you, that's how it's going to turn out to look. I'm telling you ahead of time. Now, the tags are that when they see that it ain't happening, they already tagged him so they can drag in on him. That's what they're trying to do. Meanwhile, just observe it all. Just observe it all. Because little at a time, the world, the nations of the world, are going to step back. They're not going to trade with them. So you have to be prepared to take your place. So you must be pure in heart. Because also you have to start cleaning this planet up. Some of them will help. Know that to be true. But at the same time, they will not lead. You will. And this is back to what I was projecting to the little sister, because you're all the ones that got to produce Solomon to do the work. But you're going to do it with here
That's right.
and here.
Authentic.
Then there.
That's right.
And so they go. Anyway, have a great night. Thank you all for coming out to the house.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you for your support. Thank you for those online who have supported. We appreciate you. You can support us anytime. Our Cash App and our PayPal are always open, and we appreciate you. Islam, and please travel safely.
Come on, the babies. Come on.
Let me get this. Before, let me turn it off.